Hello, 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 everyone. This is Dr. David checking in. Actually, give me just 1 minute because I have, well, actually, no, I don't need to. We're already streaming to our Zoom. So this is going out to all of our friends and brothers and sisters out there in Planet David land. Those of you passing by on the YouTube channel. We got about 13 minutes, 30 seconds until go time. Tonight's topic will be secrets of human influence, how to ethically persuade people to believe what you say, do what you want, and have them literally salivating to do anything that you ask them to do. Now, that sounds like a brag, but if you do this stuff right, that's exactly what can happen. As is my tradition, before we log on, I usually like to get in there a few minutes ahead of time, give you guys a little bit of what I call the pregame warm-up, where we talk about the format for tonight's webinar, things that you're going to want to need and do and prepare beforehand to make the most out of tonight's training. And tonight's training is an in-depth training into some of the things I teach most often that give you the biggest bang in, or the biggest bump up in your ability to persuade and influence other people. To get the most out of this, you're going to want to bring a great attitude, a sincere desire to roll up your sleeves, do some drills, and get some skills. If you're used to our, the average webinar format where they tease you for 90 minutes and then spend the next 2 hours reminding you to just buy their stuff, that's probably, you're going to be a little bit disappointed. That's not where we go. Our webinar formats tend to go long, so expect to have around anywhere from 2 to 3 hours of content. We divide our webinars up into 3 specific phases of our webinar to maximize your learning and opportunity. The first phase is phase 1. We call that the foundations phase, where we give you the most powerful, actionable methods to start creating very, very effective transformations in your life. Okay. So phase 1 usually lasts about 60 minutes, give or take. Then we go into phase 2, which is next steps. How do we level up? How do we take the things we're getting in this webinar, build on them, take them even further? That lasts about 30, 35 minutes. Then we're going to circle back into phase 3. Phase 3 of our webinar is what we call the applications phase. And this is where we actually begin to customize the content of this webinar to be exactly what you as a group want to focus in on. Do you want to focus on resistance removal? Do you want to focus on emotional bonding? Do you want to focus on overcoming objections? Do you want to focus on chemistry, connection, and attraction? Do you want to discover lie detection skills? Whatever it is that you as a group want to learn about, we will pull the techniques out of our curriculums. And for the next 35, 45 minutes, however long it is in phase 3, we're going to drill down on that. Lucky One is asking, what about manifesting? Tonight's class is about influence. It's about human influence, intrapersonal influence, interpersonal influence. We may, if enough people want to talk about transpersonal influence, we can do that. But we usually reserve those topics for other webinars. But be on the lookout, because there will be some brand new webinar topics coming up that will be focusing on energetics, spirituality, manifestation, and those kinds of applications. But today, it's really about how to get in people's heads and hearts and stay there. And and once you're in their head or in their heart, what do you actually do to get them to want to do the things that you want them to do and feel absolutely good about it in an ethical, honest, and powerful way? Okay. And one of the things I often tell people in regards to Lucky One's question about manifestation, one of the things you need to understand is that for everything you do in the non-local universe, where you're creating the mindset and you're putting it out there into the universe and you're waiting for it to manifest, you need to create a physical pathway in this world, in this vibrational plane, for those things to manifest. And one of the problems that people often run into when they're trying to create that pathway is they don't have the requisite skill set to manifest those things quicker, right? And that's actually one of the reasons that a lot of times your manifestations don't materialize as quickly as you would like to, because in order for the things you want to manifest to happen, you have to become the vessel that is capable of expressing it and receiving it. And so one of the things that we do when we try to teach these more esoteric sides of things is we try to give you the skill sets to go out and physically be the person who can have those things. And that's what tonight's webinar is really about. Tonight's webinar is about developing a skill set within yourself that actually kind of acts like manifestation lubrication. It allows people to do the things you need or want them to do in a way that's holistic, healthy, ethical, and honest. Okay. It's a really, really powerful skill set. And tonight is going to be about simple little tweaks that you can make to your way of living, your way of communicating, that grease the slide, so to speak, so that more people will do what you say, believe in you, and do what you want them to do. Okay, so make sure you have things to write on and write with. Make sure you have lots of caffeinated beverages and oxytocin stimulating substances so that you have the high level of neuroplasticity to absorb all this information. If you have questions, and I know that you will, I'm going to teach you when we log on to the webinar, I'm going to go over 3 different ways that you can actually get your questions answered in the shortest amount of time possible. Okay, you're going to want to stay on till the end of the webinar because, as always, we have super special gifts and opportunities available for people who stay all the way on till the end. If you know somebody who's getting turned down, refused, rejected, feels lonely, overworked, overlooked, not seen, send them the link to this webinar, because I promise you, if you stay on till the end, you're going to come away with a handful of powerful, simple things that you can do to create amazing amounts of charisma, chemistry, and connection with the people who matter in your world and in everybody else's. Anyway, this is Dr. David. I will see you in about 7.5 minutes. I love you all. Get ready to have some fun, do the drills, and get the skills. We will see you really, really soon. Take care. Hello, 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 everyone. This is Dr. David checking in. Hold on a second. Let me get off the screen share here. There we go. Cool. All right. Man, I look kind of small in this picture. Let me change that. Holy, am I better now? Bigger than life. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Welcome to Secrets of Human Influence, Human Secrets for Ethical Persuasion Influence, how to literally have people salivating to believe what you say, do what you want, and find you irresistible in many different ways. I'll be your host for the next 2.5 to 3 hours. I'm Dr. David Snyder. And for the last 20 years, I've been one of the world's leading authorities and recognized as one of the world's leading authorities on persuasion, influence, conversational hypnosis, and a whole lot of other things. For the last 4 or 5 years, I've been named one of the top NLP trainers in the world by globalgurus.org. I've authored 2 of the world's best, highest rated programs on neurolinguistic programming. And tonight we're going to explore some of the most powerful ways for you to move through the world, getting people to believe what you say, do what you want, and hear yes a whole lot more often. Now, the best part about tonight's training is there's no theory involved here. Everything that we're going to be sharing with you is proven, not just in terms of evidence-based. In other words, there's studies and there's science and there's a whole bunch of stuff that validates the things we're going to be sharing with you. But I got to tell you that the scientific stuff came afterwards. We spent literally 2.5, maybe 3 decades field testing the information, me personally, field testing the information that you're going to receive tonight. The best part about the things you're going to learn is you don't even need to believe a single thing that I'm going to share with you tonight. You don't need to have a doctorate in behavioral sciences or psychology or anything like that, even if you're fascinated by it. All you need are a few key principles, a few key concepts, and the ability and the opportunity to roll up your sleeves and have the experience. That's the best part. And that's why I would, for those of you who were here during my pregame warm-up, I was asking how many people are brand new to Planet David? How many people are veterans? The reason is because for those of you who are brand new, you have no clue who I am. You have no idea whether my background is complete bullshit or if I'm actually underplaying or under promoting my background in my fields in this. But you're here for one very, very, very specific reason. You want results. You have things you want in this world. You have things you want to accomplish, people you want to attract or get to know better or to do things for you or with you. And you're looking for fast, effective ways to make that happen for you, right? And so for those of you who are brand new, who don't know me, hang on to your hats, because if you follow my instructions and my directions, you're going to come away with a handful of solid, hardcore, real-world skills that you can use right away, like right after this. If you learn it, you can use it during the webinar if you want to split your attention. But most importantly, I don't want you to take my word for it. I want you to do the drills that I'm going to guide you through, however weird they may be, and have the experience for yourself. You're going to have questions tonight as we go through the training, and that's normal. I love questions. Anybody who's ever watched my early YouTube videos, right? You know, I love questions, but a lot of times those questions tend to derail or take us off on tangents. So we've kind of zeroed down or kind of honed down our question answering process a little bit. It's a little bit more rigid than some of you might be happy with, but the reason for that is to make sure that we deliver the content you came to this webinar to get and teach you a very, very clear path to take your skills even further. Okay, but again, if we're not a community of people, and we have over 200,000 people who have subscribed to the channel. And that's not counting the people in our newsletters and our other social media platforms. Over 200,000 people are logging into this stuff every day, and they're applying these skills and getting real world results. So we're going to take you through the bread and butter techniques. We're going to introduce you to the systems that those things come from, and we're going to show you how to take it to the next level. One of the cool things about what you're going to be learning tonight is that if this is the scope of everything that there is to learn, we have time for this, but in the realm of persuasion and influence, even a little bit of information applied well can yield megatons, literally megatons of results in your life. Okay. And the best part is, like I said, you don't got to believe any of it. All right. So let's make sure that we're all in the right place. All right. I'm going to take you as far as I can in the time that we have. Okay. And I'm going to point you in the direction of where to go to level up. Is that a fair trade? If I can just focus in on you and the things you need and want for the next 2.5 to 3 hours, and then point you in the direction of how to level it up, to take it even further. Is that fair? Can we agree to do that? Excellent. So with that spirit in mind, the spirit of sharing and caring, let's begin to delve into the fields of human influence and persuasion, but let's make sure that you're in the right place. So I'm going to ask you guys a bunch of questions. If you can answer yes to any of the following questions, then you're in the right place. If you can't answer yes to at least 2 or 3 of these, this is probably not the best use of your time. So let me ask you a real quick question. How many of you would like to become more charming, attractive, and fascinating to the people you meet? Just type "that's me" in the chat. We'll go from there. Right? How many of you would like to banish fear and insecurity from your life? Maybe move through the world carrying a little bit more of an energetic, radiant aura that people just naturally find themselves being drawn to, being more assertive, maybe being less afraid. How many of you would like, yeah, excellent. How many of you would like, by show of "that's me" in the chat, to be able to have the tools to protect yourself from being manipulated, from being the target of unscrupulous marketers, narcissistic, manipulative a-holes, con artists, human traffickers, and all those other persuasion predators that are out there? If that's you, raise your hand and put that in the chat, okay? Because I promise you, if you pay attention, you listen really carefully, you're going to come away with some very powerful ways that you can start to detect and understand when people are trying to manipulate you. Okay. And the techniques that you'll be learning will actually help you to safeguard against that in ways that you wouldn't even believe, right? If you'd like to have people thinking, feeling, and acting the way you want them to, so that they naturally want to follow your lead without bullying or coercion or having to be super ultra argumentative, right? If you'd like to hear yes more often, type "that's me" in the chat. Okay. If you'd like to use these skills in an ethical, honest way to create massive financial abundance for yourself with more than enough money to buy the things you truly want and then some, go ahead and type "that's for me" in the chat. If you've ever been worried about getting a job or your next performance review and you want to nail those reviews and those drills 2 out of 3 times, if not more, go ahead and type that in the chat. If you're in a leadership position or a management position or even in a family position and you want to learn to inspire and motivate and create powerful, motivated, successful teams that help you achieve your goals and your company's goals, go ahead and type that in the chat, right? If you'd like to surround yourself with the right people, a community of friends and associates and colleagues that are trustworthy and loyal and supportive in the ways you want and need them to be and the way that you really need it, go ahead and type that in the chat, because those are all the things that are more than easily possible with just the skills you're going to get from tonight's webinar, much less the systems that they come from. Okay. If you've ever fantasized, now this gets a little bit more, how can I say this? A little bit more comic bookish, a little bit more Svengali-ish. If you've ever fantasized about having the magical ability to kind of put people under your spell, right? If I were playing Dungeons and Dragons, I would say cast a charm spell on people, right? This is probably one of the most powerful courses or free events you'll ever attend. All right. So if you answered two or more yeses to any of this, you are in the right place. Okay. And I want to just let you know that that's true for you. Okay. So let's talk about the very first thing that we need to understand when we begin the art and science of persuasive influence. First of all, let me give you my disclaimer. If politically incorrect language, colorful metaphors, swearing, or the word boobies offends you, this is probably not the best use of your time, right? My goal is never to offend anyone, but my particular style of presentation can be very provocative, especially if you have a lot of sensitivities. So I want you to understand right up front that if something I say does provoke an over-the-top emotional response in you, and so I get that you may not perceive it as being over the top, that is about something inside of you that needs to be resolved. I want you to point to where you feel that, write it down on a piece of paper, and ask yourself the question, when was the very first time you ever felt that way, and who was it with? Because I promise you, the first thing that pops up into your head won't be me, right? Don't believe me, just follow that process if something I say kind of makes you feel a little inside, right? Because we have courses on how to find that stuff that's holding you back and moves you forward. But you're going to become as you journey through Planet David, you're going to become more and more familiar with the most important person on the planet that you need to influence. And that person is you. Okay. So first thing you're going to need to be successful, A, good attitude, something to write with, something to write on. Now, I get that a lot of you want to type because we're conditioned to keyboards. But I promise you that if you take the time to physically write out the things I'm going to ask you to write out, you're going to experience a much deeper level of neurological engagement. And with that neurological engagement comes access to parts of your mind and body that are usually on autopilot that you don't normally get into. Okay. So you're going to have questions. I get that. There's 3 ways you're going to get your questions answered. A, type it in the chat. If it's relevant to where we are in the webinar, then I will happily answer that question if I see it. And there's a lot of people in the chat, and the chats fly by really fast. So there's a good chance that I won't see it. But if I see it and it's relevant to where we are in the webinar and it's not going to take us too far afield, I'm happy to answer that question. If I miss it, or I just keep talking, keep asking the question. If I see it, I'll answer it. If not, you're just going to have to wait. I'll show you the other 2 ways to get that. Now, earlier I asked, how many veterans do we have in Planet David? How many new people do we have in Planet David? My veterans, you're going to be my assistants tonight. Okay. If you see someone in the chat asking a question that you have direct experience answering using the technologies that we teach in a way that doesn't distract or take away too much attention from the presentation tonight, I want you to just message those people and answer that question for them. People expect me to tell you our stuff is the greatest thing since sliced bread. That's kind of the bias going in. Whenever you go into somebody's webinar, you expect them to be pimping and promoting all their stuff. I don't want you to believe me, folks. I want you to believe the people in the chat, the people who've actually had some skin in the game and are out there every day using these skills to make their lives better. Okay. With these skills, it is not uncommon to up your closing rates and your conversion rates 40, 50, 60, 75%, depending on what your persuasion game currently is. Right? The best part about all the things I'm going to share with you tonight is they're completely 100% ethical. They're actually based on the way human beings actually truly, on a biological, evolutionary, socially programmed level, want to be communicated with. And if you do this effectively, you can literally have people salivating to do what you want them to do for their very own reasons and loving you for it in as little as 20 minutes, sometimes even faster. Okay. So again, I don't want you to believe me. I just want you to do the drills and experience the things for yourself. Okay. Are we cool with those ground rules so far? Yes or yes? Type it in the chat. By the way, I have to warn you up front that my particular presentation style is extremely interactive. So the more interactive you become with me, the more powerful these learnings will sink in with you. Right? People often ask me, David, how can you talk for 3.5, 4 hours straight and have the audience completely and totally engaged? It's because of the interactiveness of how we teach. This is how human beings were meant to learn. Right? And so that's part of it. You're my partner in this exercise. I'm your mentor, I'm your guide. And if you follow the instructions, you're going to have experiences. Those experiences are going to open windows and doors in your mind that allow you to access skills and abilities that have largely been outside of your conscious awareness. And even if you were consciously aware of them, you may not have had the neurological pathways opened to allow you to access those. Okay. So let's see if this, I'm going down my checklist in my mind because I hate doing PowerPoints. I have a whole PowerPoint right here and a whole OneNote thing, which I absolutely hate using because you ever heard this expression, death by PowerPoint, right? Now, when it's appropriate and when it's important to your learning, I'm going to go to the PowerPoint, but that's kind of where we're going. Okay. Seth says, I've been around a while. Yes, you have, Seth. More people recognize the back of Seth's head than recognize the front of mine, right? Haven't seen you in a while, brother. Good to see you. Okay. So let's talk about where does this material come from? And for that, I'm going to jump to my PowerPoint really, really quick, and then I'm going to come right back out of it. Okay. Let's see here. So the material that we're going to talk about tonight is based on what you're seeing here is a letter from Global Gurus. This is from 2020. I was named the #1 NLP trainer in the world by globalgurus.org. Now, just so you know, I have been in the top 2 slots. I've been in the #1 or #2 for the past 6 or 7 years. So this is not something that was a one and done. right? The other thing I want you to understand is the techniques you're going to be learning from come from two courses that I created. One is called Killer Influence, Secrets of Covert Hypnosis. The other is called Defense Against the Dark Arts, both of which were named the top NLP training programs in the world from 2020 through 2023. Okay, so what you're seeing here is a letter from Global Gurus telling me that my programs have been named the #1 NLP programs in the world. So this is the cutting edge stuff. Okay, this is a little screenshot of our page, so you can see our ranking up here. Okay, this is a little bit more my background. So for those of you who are martial artists, I'm with you. For those of you who are into energetics, I'm with you, right? You can see I have more energy healing credentials than McDonald's sells hamburgers. I have a lot of years of martial arts training. And believe it or not, my martial arts training is actually where I got deep into applied neurolinguistic programming. I got into it for the purpose of performance enhancement, getting better at physical skills using the mind. That was actually where I started. If you'd have told me, and I'm going to jump out on my PowerPoint for this, if you'd have told me 40 years ago that I'd wind up in a clinic in Solana Beach, California for 15 years, treating physiological illness caused by repressed emotion, well, to be honest, I'd have laughed at you, right? Because at the time when I got into NLP and hypnosis and all these things, there were only two or three things I really wanted in the world. One was to be able to kick butt, get chicks, and be cool. Those were my values at the time. Now, the interesting that happens to people as they get answers to their problems and they work those solutions, they start to evolve. And that's what will happen with you too. You've all come in because there's some kind of randomness in your life that you want control over, that you want to take the randomness out of your life. Would that be true? How many are here because they want more? By a show of hands, how many of you would like to have more chaos in your life? And by a show, and just say, if the answer is hell no, just type hell no, right? Right? And how many of you would like to take the randomness out to make your results more consistent and in your favor? If that's true for you, say hell yes. Okay, then we're in the right place, right? So let me go ahead and jump to my notes here so I can make sure that, okay. So when you look at my CV and you see all the things that I've done and the things that I worked on and things like that, one of the things that often happens is people say, man, his resume is really long. Is he trying to compensate for something or what? Well, only those of you who are either my wife or have been in my gym class know the answer to that one. But if you stay until the end of the webinar, I can promise you that you will get certain things as a byproduct of tonight's training. Okay. First of all, I'm going to share with you the fastest, most powerful, and ethical way to influence anyone to like, love, and trust you, and maybe even obey you to a ridiculous degree. I promise you, you will learn how to do that. I want to teach you in very, very specific ways, literally how to have people hanging on your every word. Like they can't wait to hear what you're going to say next. And they're going to find you the most fascinating conversationalist they've ever met, right? If you're somebody who's terrified or hates small talk like I do, if you're always struggling for the right thing to say at the right time, what if we could eliminate 99% of that just like that? Would that be useful? Yes or yes? Okay. Stay tuned because you're going to get the answer to that in part 1 of tonight's webinar, not to mention what we're going to do in parts 2 and 3. Okay. If you'd like to have people literally salivating to do what you want them to do, you're going to want to stay on until the end of tonight's webinar so you get the full opportunity. Okay. If you'd like to have more emotional control of yourself and then extend that emotional influence to other people, if you'd like to be able to remove resistance to your influence, what if you had the ability, think about this, imagine this for a moment. What if you had the ability to take someone who just told you they did not want to do something, and in the space of 5 to 10 minutes, have them actually wanting to do it and giving you the very reasons that they want to do the thing they just said they didn't want to do? Would that be useful? Okay, it's coming. Okay, but only if you stay till the end of the webinar. Okay. If you'd like to have the exact steps necessary to go from interesting information to unstoppable persuasion and communication skills, you're going to want to stay on until the end of tonight's webinar. Okay, that's what it's about. So let's talk about one of the very first things I want you to write down. So now this is again where you have to do something. Okay, I want to give you something called the Universal Persuasion Protocol. We call it the UPP in CPI. We call it UPP in Killer Influence. Now, what is important about this? This UPP, this Universal Persuasion Protocol, is a formula. It's like a recipe that you follow in any situation or circumstance where you don't know what to do, but you have to wield the maximum level of influence humanly possible. You whip out this template and you fill in the blanks with the techniques and tools that you know and understand that fill each category. Okay, so on a sheet of paper, I want you to write 1 through 7. Okay, 1 through 7. The first one is know your outcome, right? This in chapter 1 of our Killer Influence training, one of the first things we talk about is how to think like a master of influence. Persuasion professionals and people who persuade others for a living have a slightly different way of thinking about communication and interactions than the average person. They're very, very outcome driven. And so when they enter an interaction, they're going in already knowing what specifically it is that they want to accomplish. So step 1 of the Universal Persuasion Protocol is know your outcome. Now, under that, you're going to write one is know your outcome. Under that, you're going to write you're going to indent like a bullet point, and you're going to put 1B and how you know it. In other words, how you know you're getting it. It's not enough to know what you want. You have to have a way to measure what you're getting. Are you moving towards your goal or are you moving away from your goal? Many, many years ago, when I first started working in the internet space, the information product space, the very first course that I put out was a course called Secret Orgasm Tips. I wrote it under the name David Van Ark. You can Google it if you want to. And it was a best-selling program that targeted sexuality, how to be any lover's, male or female, any lover's ideal partner the first time you were together. That course is still available for those of you who are interested. Now, the reason I'm talking to you about that is because one of the most important chapters in that course was this idea that people have a checklist for what they want and how they know they're getting it. And the way that you do that, the most important attribute for that is sensory acuity, the ability to pay attention. Because if you can pay attention to people properly, they will literally, verbally or non-verbally, usually non-verbally, by the way, give you all the information that you need to influence them to do what you want them to do. Now, I'm not going to teach you 7 months of intense conversational hypnosis training. I'm going to distill it down to a few key things that if you just do this, 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 and this, boom, you're going to get your outcome, right? And if you want to go world-class with your skills, I'll show you how to take that next step. But the first thing you want to do is you want to know what you want, and you've got to know if you're getting it or not. So there has to be a way for you to measure the influence that you're exerting. Is it moving you towards your goal or away from your goal? Does that make sense? Now, if you're one of those people, and I'm not going to point fingers, I'm not going to try and mind read shame you or anything like that. For those of you with NLP backgrounds, you know what I'm talking about. If you're one of those people who says, I'll know it when I see it, you're probably going to miss it. Okay? You want to delineate in your very own mind a very succinct and very distinct way that you're going to know what you're getting, how that person is going to respond when they're moving towards what you want versus when they're moving away from what you want. Okay? And how you will calibrate it. Right. One of the things you'll learn in the advanced trainings and Killer Influence and all the other trainings is how to tell when people are moving towards something or away from something by their body shifts, their pupil dilation, all these other cool things. Right. Most of you don't have and again, I'm not saying this to be demeaning or meaning, or I'm assuming that everybody coming in is a novice. And so I make that assumption. Right. And so I'm not trying to demean you or say you don't have skills, but I have to make the assumption that you don't, so that I can teach all of you to level the playing field, right? If you have 20 years of NLP experience, this is going to sound sometimes it'll sound a little overly simplistic, but I'm going to give you a little clue right up front. Sometimes the most powerful and profound things you will ever learn are also the simplest. Okay. So level one of that 7-stage formula, the universal persuasion protocol, is know your outcome and how you're getting it. Okay. If you don't have that, you've got a non-starter. The next thing is number 2 on your UPP diagram is going to be control your state. In other words, what emotional state are you in right now? And what emotional state do you need to be in to become the person that can express themselves in the way that the person or persons you're seeking to influence do the appropriate thing? Okay, let me again go through that in a slightly different worded way. Who do you need to be? Who do you need to be in order for the person you're seeking to influence to become who you need them to be? Right? Now, everything human being, here's a little sidebar. This is something you should write down because it's true whether you know the universal persuasion protocol or not. Everything human beings do is in response to a feeling. It's either a feeling they want more of or a feeling they want a whole lot less of. In NLP parlance, we would say people are moving towards things that make them feel good and away from things that make them feel bad. Now, the intensity of those feelings, sometimes they're conscious of them and sometimes they're largely not. Part of your job to become a master of influence is to learn how to become a connoisseur of feelings, which are analogous to your emotional state. Okay. How many of you, by a show of hands, would like the ability to never have anybody knock you off your game ever again? So no matter what they say or what they do, no matter how emotionally aggressive they are, you can just bounce right back. Would that be useful? Okay. That's day one of killer influence training. That we spend almost an entire day on nothing but that. Okay. That's on the menu. It's as my seafood Jerry Allen Johnson would say, it's on the to-do list, right? It's a foundational skill. And truly, honestly, if there is a Jedi skill in what we do at Planet David, it's state control. Because state control is a level of power and influence that is impossible to be caught. And it just gets stronger and stronger and stronger as you get deeper and deeper into the training. Right now, there's veterans here who've seen some of this stuff, but I will tell you, I have personally seen videos of some of my personal injury students who are attorneys having expert witnesses that they're deposing offer to waive or willing to waive their attorney-client privilege to answer my students' questions because they like them so much. Okay. And part of that is an extension of your state control, because once you can generate an emotional state in yourself, you can actually transmit that to another person. If you've ever heard the expression emotional contagion, or that emotions are contagious, there's actually a neurological phenomenon that facilitates that. And once you master it, you can literally walk into a room and just exude massive amounts of charisma, connection, chemistry, sincerity, authenticity on demand, right? And it's impossible to get caught, and it's impossible for anybody to throw you off your game if you've done the training, right? That's level 2 of the universal persuasion protocol. So know your outcome, control your state, get rapport. Rapport is all about creating a connection with another person that allows people to perceive you as somebody they want to be affiliated with, somebody they want to associate and are like them as much as possible. So control your state, or know your outcome, control your state, get rapport. Those are the first 3. Okay. Have you written those down? If you've written them down, say done. If you haven't written down, just type writing. Okay, good. All right. The next phase, know your outcome, control your state, get rapport, use your language. Use your language. Now, let me explain this a little bit. When I say use your language, that doesn't mean you have to be an expert in Ericksonian hypnosis. You don't have to be a linguist. You don't have to be even super eloquent. You just have to understand how to communicate to people in a way that makes them want to listen. Okay. Now, when I say use your language, as you're following the formula, if the only thing you know how to do is talk like you've been talking for your entire life, that's what you use, right? If you're coming from the therapy world or the crisis intervention world, and all you know how to do is what we call reflective listening, that's what you use, right? If you're from the NLP or Ericksonian or covert hypnosis worlds, and you understand, embedded commands and thought binds and really bizarre types of language patterns. That's what you use if it's appropriate to the situation. So when we talk about this universal persuasion protocol and we get to the language component, you just use that with whatever language skills you have. Now I'm going to give you some of the most unbeatable language skills that exist tonight, and I'm going to show you how to get even more if that's something that you want. Is that something you guys would want? Yes or yes? Okay, stay tuned, right? For those of you who are veterans, you've heard this, you've learned it. And again, this is where the social proof aspect of tonight's training is going to come in. You're going to have to validate the claims I'm going to make and all that good stuff. Okay, so we have know your outcome, control your state, get rapport, use your language. Now you take those four things and you use it to manage the state of the subject. In other words, the person or persons that I'm talking to, I have to be able to calibrate where are they mentally and emotionally, what is it they want, and what do I have to do to get them, to manage them from where they're at to where I need them to be. That's all state management is. It's being able to read the other person, tap into their needs and wants, and create a plan to get them from point A to point B. That's all state management is, okay? But there's that whole sensory acuity thing that goes into that. After that, you're going to jump into whatever mental or physical processes they use to decide to do certain things. Certain behaviors have certain patterns that they use to make those decisions. If you can elicit those patterns, and I'm going to show you a way to hack 5 out of 7 of these steps tonight, right? There's a whole lot deeper training, but I'm going to show you how to just zoom through this whole thing tonight. And then finally, what you want to do is you want to bond to their emotional needs. Every human being that you encounter is going to have a set of emotional needs. We call it the checklist for wanting to do the things that you want them to do. They're personal and they're selfish and they're unique to that person. But if you understand this process and you understand how to become aware of that information and bond it, link it to what you want them to do for you, for their own reasons, you can literally have them salivating. And I use that word very, very specifically because it's about desire. It's about satisfying a deep-seated need that doesn't want to be refused. It doesn't want to be denied, right? And if you do it ethically and honestly, then people will simply ask you to buy. They'll ask you to take the next step with you, right? You'll never have to lie, cheat, or steal, okay? In fact, in a business context, when you use this effectively, it becomes amazingly hard for your competitors to actually undersell you, because the emotional relationship, the emotional bond that you've created with your customers or your prospects is so powerful that they can't get that experience from anybody else, right? So that's how, and that's just baby stuff. That's baby level stuff. But does that sound exciting to you, any of you guys? Does that sound like something you might want to do? All right. So let's jump into the very first thing that we have to understand to up your persuasion percentage, right? And this is very important. It goes back to the second ring of the CPI model, the Universal Persuasion Protocol. And that is controlling your state. How many of you, by a show of hands in the chat, would like to be up to 31% better at everything you do? Type in the chat. Yeah, right. How many of you would like to hear, let's say that right now, your close rate for getting yeses is 50%, like 5 out of 10. What if you could add another 30% to that? In other words, instead of getting yes 5 out of 10 times, you could get yes 8 out of 10 times. Would that change your life at all? Okay. Here's the one thing that you need to do to make that happen. You ready? Be playful. Let me repeat that 2 more times in case you don't think you heard it right. Be playful. Be playful. And 1 more time for the bonus, be playful. Now, where does that come from? That comes from hostage negotiation. The FBI behavioral analysis divisions in their studies on persuasion and influence and behavior modification discovered that when the hostage negotiator approached any interaction with a casual, laid back, easygoing, almost playful energy, they were 31%, up to 31% more adaptable, 31% more perceptive, 31% more eloquent, 31% up to 31% more likable. And this is where it gets really interesting. They found out that the bad guy, the hostage taker, was up to 31% more compliant. Now think about the ramifications of that for a moment, right? Does it get any more tense than a hostage negotiator dealing with a hostage taker? There's no positive for the hostage taker. They're not going to get away more often than not. And yet, in that, I can't think of a situation that's more stressful, except for maybe the Los Angeles pickup scene, right? The pickup bar, right? That's more stressful. Maybe interrogation, right? But my point is that in these high stress situations where everything, there's no such, you can't split the difference on a hostage, right? You can't take home 75% of the hostage. It doesn't work that way, right? And again, if you don't got to believe me, go reference Chris Voss's work. It's there in black and white in the books. It's in his videos on YouTube and in reviews and things like that. Go check it out. But my point is that all you have to do before you learn any other skills is just learn how to be more relaxed, playful, and easygoing. Now, I learned this kind of by accident in my pickup days, because one of the things I discovered is that when you approach people with a fun, playful, easygoing, kind of a testing to see if you're cool attitude, their defenses go down, right? If you approach somebody and you want something way too strong, you send up all kinds of mirror neuron signals that their nervous system picks up, and they don't consciously recognize where those signals are coming from, but their mirror neuron system causes them to have feelings that they don't like. And they're looking at you when it happens. But when you come in with a playful, easygoing, relaxed state, right, to just kind of see what happens energy, you're going to be more persuasive and charismatic, because you're going to dissolve those defense mechanisms that they're going to have up naturally. Okay. So you guys with me so far? Would you like to learn how to do that? Okay. Yes, you're with me, or yes, you want to learn how to do that. Okay. Now, keep in mind, in Killer Influence and CPI and Defense Against the Dark Arts, we devote entire days to the training. So I don't have time to give you the whole training, but I'm going to give you one or two exercises or drills that you can practice, that if you practice them on a day-to-day basis, a lot, you're going to start to have a default state that is more relaxed, more easygoing, and allows you to become more perceptive of the world around you. So here's the thing. We're going to go through a drill. It does involve an eyes closed process. So what I want you to do is I want you to make sure, if you want to do this, that A, you're not driving a car, right? If you're operating any kind of machinery that requires your full and undivided attention, then you have to make a choice. Either don't do this exercise, or turn off the machine, step away from the equipment, put the car in park, turn the engine off, put the emergency brake on, right? Make sure you won't be disturbed, and then follow along. Okay, I won't be held responsible for any of you who crash cars or get parking tickets or speeding tickets or whatever it is you're doing, because you're weaving all over the road, right? All right, so the first thing to understand, that when you want to control your state, the two big pieces to persuasion and state control are your posture and your breathing. If you can control your posture and you can control your breathing, you can interrupt any emotional state that you get thrown into randomly. If you understand the posture and breathing pattern of a certain type of emotion, you can enter that state and maintain it in as little as 2 minutes, sometimes faster. But for training purposes, 2 minutes is the gold standard. Okay. Now, that research comes from a woman named Amy Cuddy. You can research her TED Talk on YouTube. We've been doing a lot more advanced stuff for 20 some years, but Dr. Cuddy has done a lot of the actual physical, academic, and research. So I recommend her book, Power Poses. And there's also a book she put out called Presence, which is an excellent resource for a lot of what we're talking about. But what can we do right here, right now? To do that, we're going to take a little bit of a shortcut. Is that okay? Is it okay to do this faster? Okay, so I need you guys to stand up if you can. Stand up if you can. I want you to close your eyes. And I want you to think back to a time in your life where you were playing, you were having the most fun ever. Now, here's the thing. I don't care what that fun was, as long as you were playful, having a ball, and you didn't care about anything but having a good time. I want you to remember that moment. I want you to close your eyes, and I want you to see what you see in that moment. I want you to hear what you were hearing in that moment. I want you to smell and taste what you were smelling and tasting in that moment. As you do that, as you see what you see and you hear what you hear and you smell and you taste what you smell and you taste, there is an amazing, wonderful, joyful, playful, free feeling that you get, a feeling of absolute pleasure and playfulness and fun. I want you to remember how you were standing in that moment of fun. Remember how you were breathing in that moment of fun. And as you let those feelings come flooding back, I want you to notice there's a place in your body where those amazing, wonderful feelings start, where they grow, where they spread from. Take a moment, notice, and point to where you feel it. I'd like you to notice that there's a color, maybe even a series of colors connected to those amazing feelings. I'm curious, I'm wondering what color or colors it might be for you, first impression. Now, remember, you do not need to type these in the chat. Okay, I want you to be fully absorbed in what you're doing right now. Let those feelings and the colors connected to those feelings rise up into your awareness, and imagine a brilliant ball of that energy floating above your head. And I'd want you to notice how the feelings in your body shift and changes with every breath you take and every beat of your heart. That amazing ball of fun begins to grow, begins to expand, begins to fill the entire room from floor to ceiling, from wall to wall, and all points in between. Notice how it wraps itself around you like an amazing blanket of fun, playful, easygoingness, a cocoon, a shield, a suit of armor, insulating you, protecting you from all downers, all bummers, real or imagined, while at the same time flooding your mind, flooding your body, flooding your spirit with everything it most wants and everything it most needs, and an infinite, ever expanding and unlimited supply. And when you know you've got that, I want you to breathe those amazing colors through your entire being. Let it fill you up like water fills up a bottle, like fluid fills up a test tube, like hot air or helium fills up a balloon. Anchor it in so fully, so completely. No force in the universe can turn it off or take it away, not even you. And when you realize it's true, it's locked in. I want you to test it. Try to turn it off, try to take it away, and notice what happens instead. And when you're satisfied, stop testing. Allow your eyes to open, notice how good you feel, and type in the chat what you experienced. Nancy says, so cool. Jodian says, ecstatic. Now, you think this might be a more fun way to move through the world? Clear state, warm hands, very good. Excellent. Now, I promise you, and this is a little sidebar for those of you interested in manifestation and law of attraction, you start doing your law of attraction and manifestation work in this state, and the things you want will happen faster. Before you even start doing persuasion, you have a much greater chance of actually tapping into the things you want to attract. Okay? This one simple drill will completely change your biochemistry and your neurology and become somebody who can manifest charisma, chemistry, connection, and interactiveness with other people. Okay? So this is your drill. Now, just for fun, I want you to go back to that state. I want you to, once again, stand the way you were standing, breathe the way you were breathing, breathe that, fill the room with that color, breathe it through your body 2 or 3 more times. Notice how each and every time you breathe that color through your body, the feeling gets stronger. And when you've done it 3 or 4 times, tell me how it's changed as you do that. Type just when you finish the exercise, type it in the chat. Okay, Al's asking about images with bringing, don't worry about the image. Most people only see muddled colors anyway. It doesn't matter. All right, Nancy says it feels anchored in. Courtney says just pretend, feels like a summer sun. Very good, Julie. Right? Now, go back into the posture and the breathing pattern. Right? Whatever that fun, playful posture breathing pattern is. And now, without changing a single thing about the way you're standing, without changing a single thing about the way you're breathing, summon up your willpower, keep your posture and breathing the same. As an act of will, try to feel bad. Test that for a few seconds. When you're done testing, let that attempt go and tell me what happened in your body when you did that, when you tried to do that. Now going back, I tried, I busted out laughing, impossible to shift. Very good. All right, welcome to being bulletproof. Now, one of the things you'll notice is that if you were really summoning up your willpower and you were keeping this posture and this breathing thing solid, you may have noticed as you tried to bring the negative feeling in, your body wanted to kind of shift down or change its structure. Did anybody notice that? Okay. My question for you is, which part of you won? The body or the willpower? Which part of you won? Exactly. Remember this, my friends. It's true. Everything that human beings do has a pattern and a structure to it. Okay. Everything human beings do is a feedback loop. You've all heard this, and if you've been in the self-development space or the persuasion space for any length of time, you've heard the old adage, the mind controls the body. Trust me, that's true enough to be true. But the mind truly only controls the body, or I should say the willpower only controls the body if you've been trained. In other words, unless you're a Buddhist monk, a Shaolin priest, high-level athlete, deep-level meditator, or yogi, it's the opposite. Functionally, the physiology, the body, controls the psychology. And this is, again, why the CPI and the killer influence systems work so powerfully, because it comes from the idea, the premise, that your physiology, the sum total of the feelings in your body, change all of your perceptual and cognitive faculties. It changes the way you perceive the world. It changes the way you think. It changes what you focus on, all from a body feeling. Now, you are surrounded. Remember, I told you this was also a way to protect yourself? The one thing I want you to understand is that every social media platform, every media agency, every governmental agency, every commercial that you encounter is trying to do one thing to you, is that's change your body feelings. It's trying to put you in a state where your perceptual filters, the way you pay attention to the world and the things you focus on, are in harmony with the message they want you to act on. So the simple ability to enter and exit any emotional state at will is like having having a bulletproof vest against their ammunition. It's like a suit of armor that you can just turn on and deflect so much of what comes at you. Okay. Now, again, in your training in killer influence, you're going to get a whole day of this, like drill after drill after drill. But not only that, okay, Nikki's saying I had a hard time focusing on the positive. That's fine. It's all training. Okay, one of the biggest things that most people run into is what we call the neurological negativity bias. If you want to learn more about the neurological negativity bias, there's a book you might want to pick up. It's called The Power of Bad by Dr. Roy Baumeister. Okay, great explanation of why your nervous system, why bad shit happens, and how things get out of control, right? You have a 4-to-1 negativity bias. So you need to really work on training your system to respond to negatives differently. Okay. But remember, for every good thing that happens to you, your nervous system will assign a gravity of 1 to it. Okay. Let me say that again. For every good thing that happens to you, your nervous system, your autonomic nervous system, the part of you that keeps your heart beating and your lungs breathing, will assign a gravity of 1. For every negative thing, every single negative thing that happens to you, by default, your nervous system will assign a gravity of 4. It's a 4-to-1 ratio, folks. So you need to train and you need to add as many positives to that to balance and then go beyond that. That's where training comes in. Most people never understand this simple phenomena, much less have a way to change it. I'm giving you a process that you can take a hold of, start applying right away to change that. Now, for those of you who are interested in law of attraction, manifestation, mindset mastery, motivation, all those things, what I just gave you will change your life. There's a lot more in the system, but we don't have time for that. But was this helpful? Was this useful? Did this make a difference for you? Stacy, it's by Roy Baumeister. Delilah says gold. Thank you. Excellent. Okay, so we know what we want. Do we know what we want? Have you guys, are you ready to drill down on that aspect of it? Al says, started a couple weeks ago, made a huge difference in my daily interactions. Thank you, very valuable. Yes, excellent, excellent. Okay, so we're good so far, right? Okay, so my next question for you. What if there was a way to not only have people hanging on your every word, but a way that you could literally force someone to pay attention to you, your product or your service, and generate and give you all the reasons why they would want to buy it? Would that be helpful? What if you could do that with relationships? What if you could find people and by paying attention to certain things, know exactly what their values are and how they can be satisfied and link that? Okay. So this next drill has 2 versions to it. This is from the emotional bonding segment of the Universal Persuasion Protocol. There's actually 2 techniques that we're going to talk about. Okay. I'm a little bit behind on my schedule, so I hope you'll bear with me. I'm going to jump right to the emotional bonding part. And then if it's okay with you, after you get to phase 3, I'm going to teach you how to have people hanging on your every word. Is that fair? Can we do that just so I can stay on track? Gary says yes. Nancy says, Al says good. Okay. So for this next drill, and it's not really a drill, it's an exercise designed to give you a very specific experience. Okay. And that experience is about emotional bonding. Now, there's 2 variations on this drill. If you're using this on yourself, for yourself, it's called, and write this down, the emotional motivation checklist. And write that again. The emotional motivation checklist. Okay. You guys remember everything I told you at the beginning of today's webinar, that everything human beings do is in response to a feeling. You guys remember that? Yes or yes? Okay. Now, human beings have beliefs that they use to run their life. In fact, in the advanced training, like running a CPI 3 and in the super advanced training, you learn how to change people's beliefs in seconds, overcome any objection, win any argument. It's almost not fair, but it's completely ethical, right? It will teach you how to do that. 14 different ways to instantly just derail anybody's thought process and have them believing what you want them to believe, right? That's there. But for right now, one of the things we need to understand, even more basic, is that everything human beings do has a belief system attached to it. But there's a certain level, like if you look at the hierarchy of people's beliefs, in their mind, you have the spiritual level, you have the identity level, the values level, the capabilities level, the behaviors level, the behaviors level, the capabilities level, and the environmental level. You don't need to know any of that except for one, the values level. The values level is like a checklist that people move through the world, pinging the world around them. Like for example, if I were to ask you, just as a quick drill, I want you to, on a sidebar on your sheet of paper, write down, if you were to buy a house, right? I want you to write down the three most important things to you about buying a house, or about having the perfect house, about being in the perfect house. Just first thing, just as a quick drill, right? And when you've done that, just type done in the chat. And again, I know some of you or maybe you've bought a house in the past, maybe you've never thought about buying a house, but just for the sake of process, let's look at that. Okay, so Al says done. Okay, excellent. Now, as you look at those three things, I want you to ask yourself a simple question. Again, these are the three things that the perfect house has to have. For the first thing on your list, I want you to ask yourself a question. What's important about that, about number one, right? Whatever is in your perfect house, what's important about that? And write that down. Just a quick, it doesn't have to be anything long and drawn. Whatever pops up into your head first, just write it down. And then do that for the second thing on your list. I know I'm going fast, and I apologize, but again, I know your time is valuable, and I want to get as much information into you. You don't have to, Simon, you don't have to type them in the chats. What's important is that you're having the experience when you think about the perfect house and the three things that perfect house has to have. And then what's important about that one thing and that second thing and that third thing. I want you to notice how your feelings and your emotions shift when you ask the question, what's important about? Okay. When you've done all three, type done in the chat. Okay. So in one or two sentences, I want you to type in your chat now, what changed in you when you asked yourself the question and answered the question, what's important about one, and what's important about two, and what's important about three? What happened to your emotions? What happened to your body feelings? Just real quick. Okay, Simon, good Colton. I found a sense of resolution, feelings of my chest shifted, raised emotional states, satisfied feeling. What happened to your desire for it? What happened to your desire for it? More? Okay. So we're going to do this together now because I want you to have the experience. How many of you have ever had a situation where there was something you knew needed to be done, but you absolutely had no motivation to do it? Anybody? Would you like to know how to tap into practically limitless motivation on a dime? Would that be useful? Okay. So this next drill, we're going to do the exact same process, but a little bit more in depth. For your practice, this is called the emotional motivation checklist. When you engage in this process with another human being, it's called the emotional bonding checklist. Now, to do the emotional bonding process, there's another technique that you need to have, which we'll teach in part 3 of the webinar because I want to keep us on schedule. Is that fair? Yes or yes? Okay. So here we go. Get out a piece of paper, get out a pencil, and now I'm gonna actually go to my PowerPoint for this next piece. It's actually not my PowerPoint. It's actually my OneNote. All right, let me just clear this out here. Okay, let me pull this over. So this is about emotional bonding. Okay. Oh, wait a minute. This is not the right emotional motivation. Sorry. All right. We'll talk about emotional bonding in part 3. Now, on a piece of paper, what I want you to do, again, this is important, at the very top of your page, I want you to close your eyes and I want you to just go here with me. Okay. When you saw me promoting this webinar, when you got the email or you saw me talking about it on YouTube and you saw what this topic of this webinar was about, there was something in you that you wanted to be able to do as a byproduct of tonight's training. As a byproduct from this webinar, there was something that you wanted to be able to get for yourself. Okay, something you really wanted. I want you to take a moment, and at the top of your sheet, I want you to write the question, what do I want as a byproduct from tonight's program? And write down the answer to that question. Write down the answer. What is it you want to be able to do, be, have, or achieve as a byproduct from tonight's training? Okay. And I want you to write that outcome directly below it. Now, here's the secret to this. I don't want you to edit a single thing that pops up in your head. I want you to write the answer to that question down verbatim. In other words, if it comes up in poor grammar, write it down in poor grammar. Right? There's a madness to my method that I want you to begin to experience before I have to explain it. Okay. Below that, once you've answered that question, I want you to repeat that answer out loud and then ask this question. What's it going to do for you? Right? If you got, like, say, what do you want? And you got that. Okay. All right. You got that. What's it going to do for you? Right? Pay attention to the exact words that come up. Right? Write that answer down. Directly below that, I want you to ask this magic question. What's important about it? So there was something you wanted as a byproduct of tonight's training. And when you get that, it's going to do XYZ for you. And if it did XYZ for you, what's important to you about XYZ? And I want you to write your answer. Okay. When you've done that, type done in the chat. Boy Melody's asking, is this really live? Trust me, it's as live as it gets. Nancy says done. Michelle says done. Al says done. Perfect. Now, I want you to take the answer of the what's important about question, and I want you to ask the question again. What's important about that? So you asked the what's important about question, you answered that question, and if you got this, what's important about that? What's that going to do for you? Right? And write that answer out. I'm just doing a little minor editing. Don't mind me. Right? And then once you've done that, again, write the exact words. Sorry about that. I need to. All right. And then finally, one more time, whatever answer you just wrote down, ultimately, if you got what you came for and it's going to do XYZ for you, and you know what's important about that, and then what's important about getting that, ultimately, what would getting all of those things do for you, and what's important about having that? Right? So you should do this is what we call a 3 levels deep exercise. Out in the field, when you're working with other people, it's almost never necessary to go more than 3 levels. But for the sake of your experience, I want to give you guys the step-by-step process for this. When you're done with all 3 levels, A, B, and C, up to D, go ahead and write done in the chat. And we'll continue with the next part of our process. Okay, Barat says done. Lacey says done. Good. Lots and lots of cool stuff here. All right, good. All right, so everybody's done. So let me jump out of PowerPoint. So, you guys ready for the next piece? Yes or yes? All right. So what we're going to do now is we're going to take our sheet of paper that we have our answers written on. Okay. So the first thing I want you to do is I want you to just kind of stand up, shake yourself out a little bit, and kind of just relax your body a little bit. Okay. And then I want you to check in with your body and your emotions. Right. And I want you to just notice where you're at mentally, physically, emotionally. Then I want you to take your checklist. Right. I want you to hold it up at about again, because of my virtual background and all the distancing stuff, it's hard for me to hold up my sheet without having the predator effect. So what I want you to do is I want you to hold this up and I want you to read the answers to your questions. Only the answers to your questions. I want you to read them 5 times out loud. Okay? Stand up, look at your answers, think about them as you read them out loud 5 times. When you're done, type done in the chat. Take all the time you need to get that done now. Delilah says magic. Al says done. Barbara says done. Okay. So let me ask you a question. What happened? What happened when you did this drill? In 2 or 3 sentences, just type in the chat. What happened? Sales says deeper set, solidified what I want. I was directed inwards, Farhat says. Okay. Did it make you want it more? Did it make you more? I'm curious. Tried to edit it? Okay. We'll talk about that in part 3. Really, really want it? Last answer, let go of the past issues. Okay. Okay. Clarity. Can we see why this might be important for us? Feels like you've been chasing the same thing for a long time. Specificity, yes. Okay. Now, think about how good you're feeling right now. What if you could do this with anyone and everyone you meet in any situation or circumstance? What do you think would happen? Oh, Barbara says the words diminished, the emotions got stronger. Bingo, Barbara. Very good. All right. Would you like to know how to take this even further? Yes or yes? Light up everyone. Okay. So I promised you at the beginning of tonight's training that I would take you as far as I can. I would lay the foundations for you in the beginning of the webinar, and then I would point you in the direction of where to go to level up. Is that still fair? Okay. So for those of you who are ready for more, if you've enjoyed the experiences and you've been empowered by the little tidbits I've shown you, I'd like to introduce you to a set of programs that I put together to help you level up and give you full access to the entire system. Okay, so let me talk to you about this really quick. This is called the Secrets of Human Influence Ultra Persuasion Home Study Course. This is a program that I'm very, very proud of. It was designed specifically for people to learn everything I teach and do from the privacy of their own home and take their lives to the next level. It's a series of trainings that work together to amplify and maximize your ability to persuade people to believe what you say, do what you want, to motivate them and inspire them and lead them in the ways that are important. It's all about taking your life to the next level. It's about making more money for yourself and your family and your business so you can take care of the people that matter. It's about closing more deals, both in your social world, in your professional life. Getting more dates obviously has applications there. It's about helping more people, which one of the things I've really come to appreciate about those of you in Planet David is, yes, you want to make your life better, but you want something more than that. You want to take it and use these skills to help other people improve their lives. And I really, really want to get behind that. It's about learning to feel more confident and more powerful in yourself and your ability to influence the world around you. In short, It's about winning the game of life and becoming more charming and charismatic and irresistible so that you can reach more people, connect with more people, and remove the randomness from your life and get the things you want that really matter. So I put this together for you. This offer is good until November 30th, 2023 at 11:59 p.m. That's tonight. Okay, and it's going to start with what we call this 17 video Secrets of Human Influence home study course. It includes the 7-stage universal persuasion protocol. It's going to teach you chapter by chapter by chapter how to think like a master of influence. I gave you a little snippet, a little bit of tidbits about the different psychology that professional level persuaders and influencers use. And if you don't understand this, it's going to undermine your ability to persuade and defend against unethical persuasion powerfully. It's a $297 value. We're going to teach you the full training on how to control your psycho-emotional state at will so no one else can push your buttons against your will ever again. That doesn't mean people won't catch you by surprise. What it does mean, though, is that in the times when they catch you by surprise, you'll be able to instantly turn those emotions around on a dime, go into any emotional state that you want or need, and transmit those states to other people, both individually and as a group. It's a $297 value, but I think you can begin to imagine just how much more valuable that ability actually is. Now, what if you could take that same level of emotional projection and empathic transference and use it to generate tremendous levels of rapport so that you can connect with other human beings and transmit those vibes to their mirror neuron network, their proprioception, and their autonomic nervous system that causes their system to actually change consciousness organically, so that they feel completely connected to you and they start to view the world through the lens that you've created through your rapport skills. This is about taking your rapport skills to an even deeper, more powerful level than anybody's ever taught you. These are things you will never learn in an NLP class anywhere, I promise you, because there's only 2 people in the world that were ever taught these skills. I was one of them. The other guy doesn't teach it anymore. So anyway, it's a $297 value. I want to teach you the 7 most irresistible hypnotic language patterns. I should actually change that word. I shouldn't call it hypnotic. I should call it neurologic. And the reason I say that is because each of these language patterns are an expression of a certain neurological program that every human being runs. And just speaking with these patterns causes changes in the way people think and feel, right? Now, put aside all the neurological mumbo jumbo, stop for a moment and imagine what you could do with the following superpowers. Again, this is where we begin to use the imagination effectively. First of all, what if you actually had the ability to capture and lead a person's imagination to the point where they would imagine vividly anything that you describe? Would that be powerful? That's where this starts, and it just gets more powerful. Now, let me ask you a question. What if you had the ability to actually influence what a person pays attention to the point where they only pay attention to the things that you want them to, and they ignore everything else? What if you had the ability to cause a person's subconscious mind and their conscious mind to separate and have the subconscious mind automatically run programs that you describe? That's what 2 of these language patterns do, right off the bat. Now, what if you had the ability to make anything you want seem to cause anything you want in the minds of your listener? What could you do with a superpower like that? Gary says, I love that one. Gary's been around a while. He's a little enthusiastic, right? What if you had the ability to make anything you want mean anything you want in the minds of your listener? Think about what you could do with that. Okay. That's just 3 of the 4 language, or the 4 or 5 language, the 7 language patterns in the system, right? Final one is what if you could literally force a person's imagination to create whatever you describe with 0% chance of mistranslation or resistance? What if you could do that? In fact, What if that ability was so powerful that you could create it before a person was even consciously aware that you were doing it? Right? That's what 4 of the 7 language patterns in this course will teach you to do on top of everything else. Again, it's a $297 value, but again, I think you can start to read between the lines and realize that there's a lot more going on here. Okay. Lou Slime says, I'll be the most popular closing business deals. Yes. When I said at the beginning of this webinar that it's not uncommon for people to up their closing rate by 40, 50, 60, 70%, I wasn't kidding. I have one student that I know for a fact closed a $1.2 billion sales deal. Okay. I'm still waiting for my cut, but I know what he used to do it because he told me about it. All right. And that's just one extreme example. But when I say the average closing rate is off the charts, that's really, really powerful. 10%. I'll take, for $1.2 billion, I might even take 7%, but 10% would be a good place to start out. Right. Now, what if you had the ability to systematically manage the emotional states of others, to be able to zero in on the exact emotional state they're in, know exactly what emotional state you need them to be in, and have the exact steps and tools to get them from point A to point B without worry, without fear, without worry about screwing up? What could you do with what if you had the ability to manage the emotional states of your mother, your wife, your husband, your children, your in-laws, not to mention your boss or your employees or whatever? Because I guarantee you'll have the ability to do that if you train. Again, these skills seem like magic, but they're just skills. And if you work with it and you practice it, you will gain magical results. You'll have to work less hard and you'll get a bigger and bigger return on your investment. Things will just get easier and easier for you. You will become a person who is naturally charismatic and irresistible, able to get whatever you want in pretty much any situation, because there's a universal formula that tells you exactly what to do and when to do it. Okay. We're going to teach you how to hijack a person's internal behavior code. Remember that every behavior human beings engage in, certain areas of their brain light up in a certain sequence. Those clues come out in the words a person says and the gestures that they make and where their eyes go. And if you can learn how to pay attention to those things, you can figure out really, really quick exactly what that behavior code is and put what the messages you want them to act on into that structure, and they'll run it like it's their own idea. Okay. It'll just make sense to them in a way that it's almost unfair, but it's not. And then, of course, you just had the emotional motivation skills, right? We just talked about you felt what the emotional motivation checklist did for you in the space of a couple minutes. What if you repeated those things over and over and over again for 20 minutes or more? Right? And that's how you begin to emotionally bond anyone's deepest desires to your product, your service, or you. And it makes them want to do what you want them to do for their own selfish reasons. And when you actually deliver on that promise, the level of emotional trust and connection and bonding that they have with you is practically unbreakable. Practically unbreakable. It's very, very difficult to undermine that bond, right? I've under promoted that particular aspect of it, but I've seen this process do superhero level stuff, right? For those of you who are been around Planet David, who've been trained in this process and you've had experiences, tell the people what these things have done for you and how it's worked for you. Okay. We're also going to include the Killer Influence Mind Control Manifesto, which is a $418 value. Now, obviously, if you do the math, we'll talk about the online community in a moment. Total value for this, if you went to the website and bought it today, would be $2,497. But we're not just going to give you this. For those of you who are ready to take action, who've raised your hand for at least 2 or 3 of the things that we started the webinar with, that have had the experiences, who've done the drills, who are ready to start hearing yes a whole lot more and stop hearing no, we're ready to stop making excuses and start making changes. For those of you who grab this course today, here's what else we got for you. We're going to include these extra special bonuses. We're going to include weapons of mass instruction. Now, don't let the title fool you. This course is going to teach you one of the most powerful persuasion and influence tools one of the most world-altering tools that have ever been existed. It's the art and science of storytelling, how it affects us neurologically, and how you can begin to use the process of narrative persuasion to influence whole groups of people at one time to do whatever you want them to do. This is a $1,997 value. This is a course that there's no other course like this on the planet, because I literally had to comb through like 50 different courses and personal research and scientific studies to put these things together in a one-stop shop that gives you everything you need to know to influence people through storytelling and metaphor and all derivatives thereof. Okay. This is probably one of the most intense courses that I teach. Okay. But one of the things that I love about this course is that it works really, really well, even if you're working with an audience that is not speaking your native language. Right. So a lot of the things with the discrete language patterns I talked about earlier, some of those, depending on what language you're talking in, can get a little, the structure is a little weird. But when you're using story work, every culture on the planet tells stories. Just the idea that someone's about to hear a story causes them to go into a profound trance state. So there's a specific set of modules that teach you the neuroscience of storytelling, how it works, why it works, right? How it's the most irresistible form of influence that there is. There's a story template and a set of story principles for creating stories, small short stories specifically for connection, things you can do in a line at Starbucks, in a line at a movie theater, waiting to get into a restaurant, where you see people that you're interested in, but you don't know how to talk to them. You don't know how to kind of create that bond or that connection. There's a module just for how to do that. There's a module on what we call alpha strategies or alpha stories. These are the classical motivation, leadership, selling stories that most people are familiar with. Okay. But then we get into something called omega stories. And omega stories are the kinds of stories, the kinds of strategies that almost nobody knows about. Okay. So for this, I'm going to jump out of my PowerPoint just to kind of illustrate this. So alpha stories are kind of like persuasion pushing messages, right? So if I have a big filing cabinet here, right, and I need to move that filing cabinet across the room, I'm going to get behind it and I'm going to push. And if I can't move it, right, I'm going to get more people to help me push. That's an alpha story or an alpha strategy. But let's say there's only me and I have to move this big ass filing cabinet, right? And I don't have enough mojo or juice to push it that way. I can do one of several things. I can get a cart or a set of rolling pins. I can put it on rollers and I can push it. Or I can take some oil or some kind of lubricant. I can put it on the floor in front of the filing cabinet. And now this filing cabinet will slide much easier. Pardon me. I change this really quick. Right? Why? Because I've removed the resistance to the persuasion. And that's the magic of omega strategies and omega stories, is they don't necessarily add more persuasion push to your message. What they do in the background, without people realizing it's happening, is they remove the resistance to the persuasion inherent in the story. It makes people more open to doing what you want them to do, not by overwhelming them, but by dissolving the reasons they have or softening the attitudes that they have that would stop them from doing it. Okay. I don't know if that makes, is everybody following me? Does everybody understand the difference? Right. If you're with me so far, go ahead and type that in the chat. Okay. Excellent. Now, the other thing about stories, I call this the Terminator effect, even though I got to probably find a more positive metaphor for this. How many people here, by show of me in the chat, have ever heard of the movie called Terminator? Specifically the first Terminator, the good one. All right. If you remember the movie, the original Terminator, you're as old as me, perhaps even older. But you guys remember that when the Terminator, when the hero was explaining about the Terminator and time travel, they said that only organic things could come through, that machines couldn't come through, but the evil AIs found a workaround by wrapping that Terminator in organic tissue. it could pass through that time wormhole. Do you guys remember that? If not, you should go watch the movie just to understand that metaphor, right? This is one of the secret superpowers of story work. This is the domain of where the guys like Tony Robbins and Lisa Sasevich and oh God, who are some other good ones? T. Harv Eker. This is the domain where they're wielding a superpower that nobody understands. And this is where you can level the playing field. You see, stories can also serve as a delivery mechanism for other persuasion techniques. In this course, you will get the neuroscience behind why and how storytelling works, why it's so irresistible, why stories are never perceived as an obvious attempt at influence, how to do stories for connection, how to create stories that motivate, inspire, lead, and sell, how to create stories that remove resistance, and then finally, 12 to 15 different techniques that you can insert inside of any story that make it even more irresistibly compelling. This is a complete masterclass in the art of influence and persuasion through storytelling. If you have kids, this is easily one of the most powerful and liberating ways that you can influence people. If you have clients, coaching, therapy, mentoring, the stories that you tell are an amazing opportunity to install things and train things and get people to come to the conclusion you want them to have without directly telling them. It's an amazingly powerful course. I will warn you, this is the deepest end of my pool, but I'm giving this to you because once you've had the Secrets of You and Influence basic training, which is everything I just talked about previous to this, this becomes much more doable for you in a simple, easy, fun to use format. Okay, it's a $1,997 value. It's yours absolutely free, and you will have so much fun with this. It's unbelievable. Total value is $4,487 value, but we're not done. What if you had the ability to change anybody's beliefs, overcome any objection that a person had, or win any argument in as little as 30 seconds? Would that be a useful skill to have? What if for every objection or reason for not doing what you wanted somebody to do that you encountered, you had 14 different ways to change it before you started combining them? Would that be a useful skill to have? Because that's exactly what this particular program is going to do. We lovingly call it renegade reframing, and it's based on a series of language patterns discovered by Robert Dilts through his observations of the founder of NLP, Richard Bandler. And they're specifically designed to allow you to overcome any objection, change any belief in seconds. Not only does it change the belief, it actually creates a small pattern interrupt in the mind of the subject, which makes them 100% more open to whatever you say to them next. The window is very small, but you can keep recreating it. 14 different ways to overcome any limiting belief, any objection, any argument. If you're someone who's constantly being gaslighted or manipulated by people who are, using your sense of self-worth and identity against you, this is the perfect way to turn the tables on them. One of the very first exercises that we do with our NLP students and our covert hypnosis students when they're learning this in the coaching program is we have them write down all of their very own limiting beliefs, and then we have them use these patterns on their own limiting beliefs, and it completely transforms their model of the world. It completely changes what they think they're capable of, how they think about their life and the story they've written, and it's a complete game changer. This will take your life to the next level just by using it on yourself. But imagine what you can do with it out in the world, with your children, with your spouse, with your boss, with your employees, with your colleagues, right? For every limiting belief you encounter, you will have 14 different answers. Or actually, I should say 14 different ways to come up with infinite numbers of answers that free people from the cages they've created in their own mind. Okay? Plus, it comes with a really cool card game. We call it the reframe game, where you can literally just go around the table, spout a limiting belief, spout an objection, spout something that's completely you've heard on the news, and you throw a card at somebody and they have to use that pattern to overcome that belief. You can have hours of fun playing the game of reframe. Okay, it's a $1,997 value. It comes with templates, it comes with explanations, it comes with a step-by-step understanding of each pattern and how to use it, and a quick start map that allows you to just memorize these things very, very quickly. Combined value is $6,484 if you register and grab this course before the end of the webinar. Finally, how many of you influence people? This is next to get to learn the wifey to want to take the trash out. I'm not going to say I've seen that used that way, because that would get me in a lot of trouble. But I have seen that used. Michael's saying, "Where's the link?" If somebody wants to post a link for Michael, he kind of wants to get in there on this. This next one is really cool, but I'll tell you right now that this one is probably not for everyone. So let me explain this to you. How many of you, by a show of hands, have ever gone to a seminar and maybe halfway through to the end of the seminar, some male or woman at the front of the stage says, "Hey, buy my course," and 150 people, 200 people, a stampede of people rush to the back of the room to sign up. Would you like to be able to do that too? To sign up for your program, become a client, buy your course, take their relationship with you to the next level? If you've ever fantasized about that, or you want a clear path for doing that, you're going to love this next course. This is called Charisma and Conversion, and it's hypnotic presentation skills for presenters and public speakers. All right. The idea behind this course is to teach you the art and science of hypnotic and charismatic presentation. So one of the first things it's going to teach you is two different forms of public speaking. The first one is for small group presentations. There's a way that you can design a talk that installs and subliminally primes and programs people to want to work with you, to want to take action in your world in a way that delivers value, but also primes them to take the next step with you. One particular process is great for healthcare providers, people who deal with in the medical world, things of a therapeutic nature, for small groups. Then there's another model that has persuasion architecture training that's designed for large groups. So the small group presentation process is for groups of up to about 20 people, where you can reliably have 13 out of 20 people signing up for your program. The other one is for large groups, 200, 300, 400 people, where you have up to a 20, 25% conversion rate, depending on what you're offering and how you're presenting and stuff like that. So there's very specific ways that you create those presentations. Then we're going to teach you hypnotic stagecraft. We're going to start with basic stagecraft, how to stand, how to hold a microphone, how to spatially anchor things. We're going to teach you again, we're going to revisit hypnotic storytelling, right? And all the things that we taught in weapons of mass instruction, we're going to revisit those for platform training, for the ability to do this from the stage to a massive group of people, both virtually and in person, and have them rushing to click the buy button or rush to the back of the room to take the next level with you. How many of these bonus offers are for live events? I'm not sure I understand the question, but all of these were actually created from live events that I was teaching, and then we added and modified it for a home study program. So you'll actually see these things being done real. It's not a talking head video, kind of like I'm doing now. It's like I'm out there on stage and people are getting up on stage and they're doing these things. Okay. And then finally, we're going to teach you exactly how we're going to teach you the system behind the system. Remember, I said that there are the A-list presenters like Tony Robbins and T. Harv Eker. There was a set of persuasion skills that they were using that they weren't sharing with the world that has people salivating and rushing to the end of the back of the room. We call these ninja persuaders, or the ninja module. What you'll see in this course is we'll actually take a transcript from certain A-list presenters' presentations, and we will actually deconstruct it for you. We will show you the embedded commands. We will show you the analog marks. We will show you the confusion inductions. We will show you the storytelling and metaphor. We will break out and show you the presuppositions, all the hidden persuaders in their talk that are designed to have people salivating and rushing to the back of the room. not just so you can do this for yourself, but so that when you go to these seminars and you go to these trainings, because you will, you now have a heightened level of awareness so that you can have a better choice. One of the first things you learn when you come to Killer Influence, my friends, is that without awareness, there is no choice. My job one for me as your teacher, your guide, your mentor, your friend in this process, in this pursuit, is to teach you how to become progressively more self-aware, so that the persuasion tactics that are being leveraged on you and used on you all the time become something you're aware of, so that you can choose how to respond. Okay? This is easily one of the most important and powerful courses that I teach, but it's not for everybody unless you present to groups of people, right? But it presupposes you have the basic training, what we teach in Secrets of Human Influence. So if you're ready to go from one-on-one influence to converting large groups of people at the same time, this is your next step. Again, I wanted to be, when I created this program for you, I wanted to be super comprehensive. I wanted you to have the tools so that no matter where you were going to influence people, whether it was one-on-one, through the internet, through a webinar, through live trainings, you had the skills and the ability to do that. Now, what else is included in this program is the repurpose module. What if you had the ability to take all this material and use it for your social media, use it for your YouTube channel, use it for your emails and your blog posts and all those other things? We're going to teach you my particular methodology for utilizing things like meetup.com and YouTube and the quick and dirty research that I do to find high converting YouTube titles without having to do hours and hours of research. It's really, really helpful. And it was one of the things that put our YouTube channel on the planet, especially back in 2015, 2016. And I'm going to share it with you. I share it all with you in this amazing course. It's a $1,997 value. We're going to give it to you absolutely free. Okay. It's an $8,481 combined value. Okay. So let's just review this really quickly. All right. The Secrets of Human Influence home study package includes the 17 video, 7-stage universal persuasion protocol. It includes the Killer Influence Mind Control Mastery Manual, which actually has extra bonus chapters and appendixes in it that I haven't talked about yet that will completely change everything. You're going to get the Weapons of Mass Instruction, Neuroscientific Storytelling Secrets, $1,997 value. We're going to give you the Renegade Reframing, how to overcome any objection or change any belief in seconds, and the manual, $1,997 value. We're going to give you the Charisma and Conversion Hypnotic Presentation Skills Home Study Training, $1,997 value. Total combined value, if you were to go and buy these individually on the website, will be $8,481. But we're not going to make you pay $8,481. Why? Because I want to give you guys the best chance humanly possible to level up your lives, right? We have a lot of people in Planet David who've grabbed this course and have used it to make profound changes in their life. And I want to make it easy for you. One of the things that you'll hear me say a lot in your trainings is that the behavior that gets rewarded gets repeated. Behavior that gets repeated gets reinforced. And one of those behaviors is I want you to take action. I need you to be an action taker for your sake, not mine. So today only, you won't have to pay $8,481. I'm not even going to go as low as $6,481. I'm not going to drop it to $5,347. But it would still be a bargain at that. We're not going to charge you $33.47. Heck, we're not even going to make you pay the full $24.47 or $23.47. For those of you who are ready to level up, you can get it all for today for one low installment of just $997. And if you're really serious, but you need a little help, we'll make it even easier for you. You can break that into 3 easy installments of just $397. Okay, $397. Right? All you got to do to get yours is go to www.killerinfluence.com. Click this link right now in your chats. www.killerinfluence.com/go. Let me just post these for everybody. Let's see here. Okay. All right, well, we'll just do that. Hold on a second. I just did something weird in my chat, so I got to get out of that. All right. Click the link right now, www.killerinfluence.com/GO. Click the link. Grab yours right now because there's more. For those of you who are on the fence, those of you who are saying, well, what if this doesn't work for me, David? Or what if I can't make it work? Or how do I know this is the real deal, right? Or what if I don't have enough time? Or whatever other reasons you might have for not taking action in your life. I want you to understand that this is absolutely risk-free for you. We're here to help. We're here to support you in any way that we can, which includes helping you through the sticking points. But if for some reason, after 60 days or within 60 days, if you're not convinced, if this thing isn't working for you and yielding the benefits and the dividends and the changes in your life that you need or that you want, that you jumped onto this webinar to get for yourself, pick up the phone, give Moss or me a call, and we'll refund your money. If you're not 100% satisfied with the results you're getting, if you're not on the fast track to making more money, closing more deals, feeling more secure, confident, and powerful, on the fast track to financial freedom and winning in your social, professional, and personal life, my friends, I will give you back every red cent you invested in this program. Okay? The world goes to the people who take action. If you keep doing what you've been doing, you're going to get what you've always gotten. If you want something different, you need to level up. Grab your course now. Work it for a full 60 days. If on day 59 it's still not working, give us a call on day 60 and we'll refund every dime you've invested. But I promise you, you'll be actually wishing you paid more because of what it's going to be doing for you. Okay? This is going to change your life on a mega scale. Julie Nixon says it totally works. Thank you, Julie. And Julie was just like you guys. She was on a webinar with us 2-3 months ago. And again, you'll see the dividends. Okay. Get yours now. Just click the link right now. Go to killerinfluence.com/go. Click the link, click the link, click the link. Because if you don't click the link right now, your life isn't going to change. And if your life doesn't change, well, what will you do instead? Right? Unless you've given up, which I'm pretty sure you haven't, but click this link. Risk-free, nothing at risk here. Okay, so Nikki's asking, are there any live or virtual sessions with you or Q&A sessions? Great question. Stay tuned, because if what I just talked about wasn't amazing enough, for those of you who click that link right now and grab this course before I log off the webinar tonight, I'm going to include the following special fast action bonuses. Now, the bonuses that I'm going to talk about in the next few minutes are only available while I'm doing the live actual webinar. In other words, when I finish phase 3 of the webinar tonight and I log off, these fast action bonuses go away. You'll still be able to get the regular package. That's good till 11:59 p.m. tonight. But when I log off tonight's webinar, the bonuses I'm about to give to you are only for those of you who took action while I'm physically on the webinar teaching this. So I want to be very clear with that, because if you call Moss at 12:01 p.m. tonight and you want to get these bonuses, you won't be able to get them. Okay? These are only for the people who grab your course now by clicking that link before I log off. So the first one, to answer Nikki's question, you're going to get a 3-month trial membership to the NLP Power Mastermind Mentoring Practice Group. This is a live group that gets together on the 3rd Saturday of every month from 11 a.m. to 4 p.m. We do them virtually and we do them live and in person from time to time as well. So if you're in the San Diego area or the Los Angeles area, or you don't mind driving a few hours to get here, you can actually come to San Diego on the 3rd Saturday of the month from 11 a.m. to 4 p.m. to our undisclosed location, the NLP Power headquarters, and you can participate in a live training and practice and troubleshooting session with me. Now, if you're too far away to participate live or in person, you can practice virtually. You can log into a Zoom room And I'll literally go around the room and I'll say, Nikki, what do you want to learn? And Gerald, what do you want to learn? And Colton, what do you want to learn? And Nick, what do you want to learn? And Al, what do you want to learn? And I'm going to write those things right up on my board. I'm going to step back and I'm going to look at where do they all have in common? Where's the connecting threads? And I'm going to create a lesson plan for you right on the spot. Okay. And we're going to drill those skills and we're going to troubleshoot the things that are most important to you for 6 hours and send you home so you can do them in your sleep. Okay. That's the beauty of the Mastermind Mentoring Program. It's going to give you the actual live hands-on support that you need and want. It's going to target only the things that you need to and want to learn about. And it's going to do it in a 6-hour format. The hours are 11 a.m. to 4 p.m. Pacific. 11 a.m. to 4 p.m. Pacific. Okay. Now, what's cool, and one of the things I want you to know about this particular program is that this Mastermind Mentoring Group has been running continuously since October 10th, 2010. It's literally 13 years we've been running this program, exactly the way we're showing it to you. And when the beautiful part of it is that we videotaped every single training session. And we've archived all of that 13 years of video on the NLP Power website. We've archived some of it on our private Facebook group, and we've archived a good chunk of it in our YouTube channel. As a member of the NLP Power Mastermind Mentoring Program during your 3-month trial membership, you will have unlimited access to the entire 13-year video archive. And it covers everything you can think of, from law of attraction to regression to advanced language patterns, persuasion and influence, accelerated learning, traumatology, psychic skills, energy healing, face reading, body language training, you name it, it's in there. Okay. I will warn you up front that because it is a member driven month-to-month program, that the topics, a lot of them will overlap, and a lot of it will be repeated because a lot of people have the same questions and the same things they want to work on. So, but it's still an amazingly invaluable archive. And there's stuff in here that has never, ever, ever, ever seen the light of day. It's never been shown on a YouTube channel. It's never been featured in a product of any kind. It's completely private and it's elite. It's only for the people who participate in the Mastermind Mentoring Program. You get 3 months to try it out. If you like it, at the end of your session, we'll show you how to extend your membership. If after 90 days you decide, hey, it was great, but I got what I needed, time to move on. Hey, no fun, no harm, no foul. You just move on and we'll cancel your membership. You will lose access to the videos, but you got what you needed, and that was what it was about. But if you're interested in having a community, being surrounded by people who have the same interests, the same desires, who want to work on the same things that you want to work on, if you're looking for a community that will support you and help you, the NLP Power Mastermind Mentoring Program is one of the best parts of Planet David. And I highly, highly recommend it. I'm extraordinarily proud of the people in it and the people who've come through it, who've gone on to make powerful changes, who are persuasion and transformation experts in their own right. I could name names, but I won't. Anyway, it's an $891 value. We're going to give this to you absolutely free. Total combined value on this would be set $9,372. Okay. And the next bonus we're going to talk about is, again, a lot of us are impatient. I often say that impatience is my superpower. So years ago, I created a very special program that was designed to teach people how to hypnotize people in as little as 2 hours. And we called this the Stealth Instant Conversational Hypnosis Program. Okay. And this is designed for people who you can download it tonight, be hypnotizing people tomorrow. It's that fast. This is going to teach you the 7 key language patterns, how to create anchors, how to do instant and rapid inductions, how to detect lies, how to use the 3 magic questions protocol, which is a conversational framework that allows you to go from stranger to deep level intimacy in as little as 20 minutes. It comes with manuals, quick start videos and audios, as well as transcripts. This is a very powerful, very comprehensive program. We're going to give this to you for $990. Normally, if you were going to buy it through our website, it'd be $997. We're going to give it to you absolutely free. It's yours free as a way to just download it now and get started now kind of a program. Okay, $10,369. And finally, For the first 21 people to register before I log off the webinar tonight, we've got a very special bonus for you. This is the one that separates the wheat from the chaff, takes you from zero to hero. For the next 21 people who grab this package right now, clicking that link, we're going to give you a free VIP super ticket to our next 5-day Killer Influence Secrets of Covert Hypnosis live certification bootcamp. Remember, this is the program that for the last 4 years has been named the #1 NLP training program in the world. You're going to get a free seat. It's a $3,150 value. We're going to take you step by step through all the drills and all the skills. And in 5 full days of hands-on training, we're going to have to teach you how to control your emotional state at will, so no one else can do it for you, how to emanate charisma on command, how to make people like, love, trust, and obey you in redonkulous amounts of ways, how to hypnotize people during normal conversations, read anyone instantly, detect lies, and so much more. There is so much juice in this program. I would be here for an hour telling you everything that's in it. But some of the things that you'll learn are the powers of proxemic hypnotic operators. This is how you can manage and engineer the spatial relationships between you and other people that cause them to psychologically view you differently. I'll give you an example. If you sit below someone's eye level, they will be more comfortable with you than if you sit above their eye level. If you sit at the head of a table, they will see you as more authoritative and more charismatic than somebody who's sitting on the side of the table. If you give somebody a hot drink to hold, they will view you with more emotional warmth than if you give them a cold drink to hold. These are subtle environmental and engineering things that you can do to change how you psychologically position yourself in the minds of other people. We'll teach you about social hypnotic operators, the 5 key hypnotic triggers that society and culture and media program into every single human being, that when you press those buttons, you engage in automatic pre-programmed behaviors by default. We'll show you what they are, how they work, how to become aware of them, how to use them, but perhaps even most importantly, how to protect yourself against them. Protect yourself against them. Okay, we'll talk about dirty, rotten tricks. These are some of the things that if you encounter some of the narcissists and the Machiavellians, these are kind of gray area persuasion tactics that someone might try to pull on you, but you'll learn how they work, how to do them so that you can recognize them and protect yourself against them. We'll talk about the 4 pillars of irresistible hypnotic influence: authority, attractivity, affinity, and acquiescence. These are 4 things that if you understand and master them, people will not only feel compelled to do what you want, they will want to do the things you want them to do. And this is on top of everything we've just talked about in the Universal Persuasion Protocol. These are amplifiers, other things you can do on top of the core training that you're getting in Secrets of Human Influence. We'll talk about lie detection and speed profiling, face reading and cold reading, and how to use those as suggestibility amplifiers, how to wield ridiculous amounts of persuasion and influence and charisma in any situation or circumstance. We're going to show you step by step how to go from stranger to intimate partner in as little as 20 minutes. We're going to teach you how to make people want to do the things that they just told you they didn't want to do. Okay? It's super powerful. It's super easy when you have the right tools and the blueprints and the step-by-step training that only comes from a Killer Influence training. We do more hands-on training than any other trainer in the industry, and it's designed to do one thing and one thing only. It's to put these skills inside of you and give you the ability to use them anytime, anywhere, under any circumstance, for any reason. Fred's asking, is it online? Yes. For those of you who grab the VIP ticket and can't make it, we are going to offer a limited seat only hybrid option. Now, I'll warn you that the requirements for certification virtually are harder than if you're in the room with me. But that option is available if that's appropriate. Okay, I promise you, you want to be in that room if you can, but there will be a hybrid option available. Okay, and we'll let you know if you qualify for that. So if you want to know if you qualify for the online or hybrid training, after you click the link, be sure to call Moss and he'll go through a few questions with you just to see where you're at and if you qualify. A couple other things about our VIP ticket system. One of the things that, can we do one class online and the rest of the days live? Yes, I don't see why, as long as you can make it, yes, absolutely. I don't see why that would be a problem, right? Again, but for that one day that you're doing it virtual, there will be a higher level of requirement. All right, so one of the other things I want to talk to you about while we're on this topic, we've been doing stupidly good webinar deals now for a lot of years, and some people have figured out that sometimes the webinar deal is actually better than the things the opportunities that we offer at the back of the room. So what they've started doing is they'll start stocking up on webinar packages. They'll buy 2 or 3 of them at a time and hoard those VIP tickets. I will tell you right now that that's going away. We've instituted several safeguards and things in place to make it fair for first timers to get access to these VIP tickets. Because like I said, there's only 21 of them available, right? And people who know the secret, they'll walk in and they'll buy 3 or 4 of them. And because we didn't have rules in place, the people who wanted those tickets won't qualify. So there is still a sweeter deal. If you've bought one of these packages before and you've bought VIP tickets before, don't worry. All you got to do is give Moss a call at 858-282-4663. And if you've bought VIP tickets before, you've bought a webinar package with a VIP ticket before, you'll receive certain prompts. Reach out to Moss and he'll explain to you what's going on and how you can get a reduced price on a VIP ticket. But I want you to understand, all of you, that this is a first-time rule. We want people who've never been to a live training to get the opportunity to come to a live training, right? So I want to really reiterate that we want to make it fair. We get that the VIP tickets are really good deals, right? And so we want to give you guys other options for getting a reduced ticket. But the 21 people is for first-time buyers. Okay, so please, 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 if you're a first-time buyer, this is for you. Click that link right now. Save your spot. Okay. For those of you who need the number is 858-282-4663. 858-282-4663. You can email Moss at nlppower.com, or you can email Mia at nlppower.com. Okay. And again, now, while we're on that subject, I want to be very clear about something. These packages are also only good until I log off the webinar. So here's the thing. If you're calling Moss or you're emailing Mia, you got to give us your contact information. You got to let us know who you are and that you're calling in, because as you're seeing, if you know, the phones get super busy. All right. If you leave your contact information on our voicemail, you will qualify for the bonuses. If you do not, and you call back tomorrow, you will not qualify. Okay. So again, when you call, it's for the express purpose of, getting your packages or whatever, but also get any last minute questions you have answered. Please don't talk for 45 minutes about your life story. We'll hear that when you come to the training. Okay. So this is a $3,150 value. This will be held in San Diego, January 23rd through the 27th. And yes, there will be a hybrid option available. Okay. So for those of you who weren't going to click that link because of the travel time or the time away from home, there's a way around that. Okay. I'm doing this grudgingly. I will just state that right up front. A couple other things that one of the things I love about this VIP ticket program. If something comes up at the last minute and you can't make it, all you do is pick up the phone, let us know, we'll move you to another training. If the training sells out, and it will, because we've been promoting this now for 4 or 5 months. So I promise you, last time we promoted a training this long, we had almost 100 people in the room. We had actually over 120 people on it, and over 80 people showed up. That's actually what started our handler program. We had so many people I had to bring in former students to help me teach because there were so many people, right? So there's going to be a lot of people coming to this thing. So you want to be in the front row. If something happens that you can't make it, maybe you realize maybe you couldn't come, and then at the last minute your schedule frees up, but you have one of these VIP super tickets, we'll make a seat for you. Right? If you can't go at the last minute, just pick up the phone, let us know. We'll move you to another training. If you've already had the training and you know somebody who you think would benefit from the training, you can gift them your VIP ticket. Right? No fuss, no muss. If for some reason we raise the price again for this training, your price is guaranteed. You have that VIP super ticket. It doesn't matter if we charge $10,000 for this program. You still get to come. Okay? This ticket is good until you use it. So if it takes you 4 years to get to a live event, as long as you're in our database when you call, you can get into the next Killer Influence training that you can make. Okay? So it really is a great deal. It's a powerful way for you to get FaceTime with me, to get my personal attention, to be surrounded by a group of people who have the same desires and interests that you do, who want to do the drills and get the skills. Nikki's asking, can we get certified? Yes, this is a certification. It says right here, certification boot camp. You will be certified as a hypnotist with a specialty in covert and conversational hypnosis. Yes. Okay. Total value on this program is $13,519 if you were to buy them individually through the website. Okay. That's what we got for you. So let's just review this real quick. We're going to take a quick break, and then we're going to go right into phase 3. So you're going to get the Secrets of You and Influence home study course, $2,497 value. The Weapons of Mass Instruction, valued at $1,997 value. Renegade Reframing, $1,997 value. We're going to give that to you absolutely free. You're going to Charisma and Conversion, $1,997 value, absolutely free. The NLP Power Mastermind Mentoring Program is an $891 value. And the Stealth Instant Conversation Hypnosis Crash Course, valued at $997 values. We're going to give that to you free. And of course, the Killer Influence VIP Super Ticket, January 23rd through the 27th here in San Diego. Please ignore the typo at the bottom of that particular bullet point, because apparently I copied this from another PowerPoint and we didn't change the dates. The actual dates are January 23rd through the 27th. Let me just type this really quick in the chat. For those of you on YouTube, I posted the link to grab this program. So this is what we got. Click the link right now. Grab your course. Reach out to Moss or Mia. Nikki's asking, this is not an NLP certification. Okay, this is a covert influence and hypnosis certification. Okay, we have a separate training track for the NLP programs. Okay, in fact, one of the prerequisites to getting into my NLP program is you have to actually have my hypnosis training. And this is one of the reasons why our practitioners are so much better than the average practitioner. Now, that's not a boast, that's a fact. Okay. The whole purpose behind Killer Influence was to make NLP skills and covert hypnosis skills and other forms of influence skills user-friendly and easy and more bulletproof. You have Killer Influence, you can walk into any NLP program and just own it. Okay, that is not a wild boast. That is a fact. Don't believe me, come to the training and then go find somebody's NLP training and then notice how it rocks, how you rock it. Okay. Julie says, I'm so excited to go to Killer Influence January. I'm excited for you too, because this is absolutely one of my favorite courses to teach. This course has changed the entire persuasion and influence landscape. Our programs are used by so many different organizations. It's not even funny. But most of you didn't know that my techniques are used in the Olympics. I know I have people in the Pentagon who use our stuff. I have people who work for certain 3-letter agencies or formerly work for certain 3-letter agencies who are using this same material. Okay. Click this link right now. We're going to take a 7-minute break. When we come back, we're going to pick up, we're going to go into phase 3. We're going to talk about the hidden passcode to the human nervous system, how to have people hanging on your every word. And we're going to customize the rest of tonight's webinar to exactly the applications that you as a group want to learn about. This is the applications phase. Okay. So go ahead, click this link right now. We're going to take a short 7-minute break so you can actually use the restroom, get your questions answered, order your packages. Click that link right now, and I will see you at 6:11, give or take a few seconds. Talk to you soon. Click that link right now. We'll see you in a minute. All right, my friends, we got about 2 minutes till our break is over. But since I'm back from my break early, which is usually the case, I'm happy to answer any questions in the chats that you guys might have about anything. You want to talk about the package? We'll talk about the package. You have a specific influence or persuasion question? We'll talk about that. When we come back on, when I take the screen, when we take the PowerPoint off, we're going to enter phase 3, which is the applications phase, and then this becomes your webinar. Al Watson says suggestions for imaging, blowing up and wrapping. Okay, so you talk about manipulating your pictures. Okay, so here's the secret to this. Use your body. Like, let me get out of this really quick. So for those of you who have trouble manipulating imagery, here's what I want you to do. I want you to simply use your body. In other words, how many of you here, by a show of hands in the chat, have an iPhone or a smartphone? Okay, so if there's an image on your phone, right, and you can't see it, you can just blow it up, right? One of the reasons that we use our hands so much is because the act of pantomiming an image bypasses your critical faculty. So if I point to where I feel something and I reach out and I touch the picture, I don't have to see that picture. But the moment I trace the outline of it, even though I don't see it, it makes it actually maximizes the reality of it in my nervous system. So once I know how big it is, just like the windows on the iPhone, you just make it bigger and you'll feel the shift. That's how you start, right? Acting out the change bypasses the part of the firewall in your nervous system, right? So, and again, the secret to this is pretend. The act of pretending bypasses a lot of the neurological filters that keep you from accessing your imagination and the imaginative faculty of your autonomic nervous system. Okay, I've talked about this at length in other webinars and other trainings, but that's the short course. Okay. Okay. All right. You're welcome, Al. Gary says, every time I see this part, I learn something new. Love it. Thank you, Gary. All right. So we're at phase 3 of tonight's webinar. And this is, again, actually one of my favorite parts of the webinar because it's things like this where we get to just kind of pull the program, the structure off to the side and really just freestyle a little bit. I've learned so much from the mastermind. The NLP Power Mastermind has done so much for my personal development, not because I'm the one teaching it directly, but because every time I step in front of that crowd of people, I don't know what they're going to, I don't know what they're going to ask me. I don't know what they're going to want to learn about. And so sometimes I'll have one person is asking about regression therapy and another person is asking about seduction. And I got to figure out how to make those two aspects part of the same training and make it make sense. And so the 13 years of having to teach the mastermind has forced me to look at things and put things together in new and different ways that I've never thought of before. And out of that have come other discoveries. This segment of the webinar, the phase 3 segment of the webinar, in addition to just building on the foundations we laid, is another aspect of that. This is where we make this content yours, but it forces me to be creative. It forces me to find ways to make things not only work, but to be transferable to you, right? Seth, that was actually a multi-billion. It was a 1.2 billion, I think, was the number. But anyway, Al says I've learned so much more from teaching. So that being said, for the rest of tonight's webinar, I want you to type in the chat exactly what you want to know about. All right, I'll give you 3 general categories. We can build on the neurological hacking technique that makes people hang on every word, which I'm going to teach anyway. We can talk about how to create instant and powerful connections in people. We can talk about removing resistance. We can talk about language patterns. What do you want to talk about? What do you want you as a group just type in the chat the top 3 things that you want to take away from tonight's webinar. And we'll spend the rest removing resistance, Jodian says. Defense against the dark arts. Okay. Removing resistance, Lacey says. Okay. Starting to see a pattern already. Removing resistance, Michela says. Okay. Besides the body checklist, resistance. Okay. Neurology, language patterns, Marianne is saying. Bonding. Keep going. Come on. Where to start in the NLP journey? Killer influence, secrets of human influence. That's where you start. Okay. Instant and resistance. Okay. Removing resistance. All right. I think I see a theme here. All right. So after you click the links, we'll go ahead and we'll start on your resistance removal training. Before I get into resistance removal, I want to close the loop on the little tactic I talked about right before we went into phase 2. Al saying yes, suggestions with packages where to start. Then, all right, so here's the thing. Let me just really quick. For those of you who are looking for first steps with NLP, I have very strong opinions about classical NLP. I love NLP. Let me just be very, very clear. NLP has profoundly changed and impacted my life. It continues to do that. That being said, I have often found myself at odds with a lot of the things and methods that classical NLP uses to train their practitioners, right? So that's one of the reasons I created Killer Influence, as the answer to all those deficits I found in classical NLP training. The CPI packages were actually the forerunner of Killer Influence. So originally there was CPI 1, which later became Stealth CPI. And then from that came Killer Influence. After that, I created the other CPI trainings. I created the Hypnotic Presentation Skills, which is CPI 4. I created Renegade Reframing, which is CPI 3. And then I created Weapons of Mass Instruction, which is CPI 2. Once you have CPI 1 or Killer Influence, you can take any of the other CPIs in any order that you want. That's why the package is structured the way it is, right? It's designed to give you the full spectrum of hypnotic influence, from the linguistic to the kinesthetic to the environmental to the behavioral, right? Because there will be times and there will be situations where you can't rely on fancy languaging, where you have to rely on your behavior, you have to rely on environmental and factor in environmental aspects to get your persuasion goals met. So Killer Influence goes far beyond classical NLP in the sense that it's all about practical application, and it goes beyond language, right? And so that's why it didn't start this way, but Killer Influence has kind of become the prerequisite class for almost all of our other classes. It's either going to be Killer Influence or it's going to be Identity by Design. Those are like the two major starting points that people have. We also have the face reading, but a lot of the face reading interacts with both the Killer Influence and it interacts with the therapeutic side. So people are coming either in from the influence track or they're coming in from the therapy side or the counseling side, right? We also have the personal development side, which is like self-hypnosis and things like that. But even that is a derivative of IBD, or Identity by Design. So for all of you, for the vast majority of you, and even if you're a therapist or a coach or a mentor, you're going to get way more bang for your buck from Killer Influence training than any other program, because it's designed for you to take out into the world and use it everywhere. And I really mean it, because I didn't design it for you. I should have probably led with that. 99% of the technologies and the courses that I teach, I didn't make them for you. I made them for me, because there were problems I wanted to solve, and the information that was available was fragmented at best, contradictory at worst, or just completely not usable at all. And so I spent a lot of time and a lot of years and a lot of time and money and just redonkulous amounts of resources to find the answers and put them together in a way that made sense and was useful for me. Turns out that I found a lot of kindred spirits, guys like you, who have the same problems, the same challenges, and the things that I found answers to can now yield the same benefits for you. If I were to sit here and list all the things that the technologies I'm sharing with you have done for me, you'd think I was a first class liar or just completely delusional. It's insane what these things can do. That's why I rely on my veterans and my other students to tell you about a lot of these things, because if I were to give you the full scope of all the things that the skills I've shared with you tonight alone have done for me, it would just blow your mind. It would like the thing we're about to study right now, which is echo technique and resistance removal. I've literally used the resistance removal technique, almost the same exact process that you're going to learn in the next few minutes, to talk somebody out of pain, to literally argue them out of back pain. In fact, after you click the link and you sign off this webinar, if you want to see that happen, you can go to my YouTube channel, type in instant conversational pain relief, and you will literally see me using an application of this resistance removal formula to argue somebody out of back pain. I happened upon that application by accident many, many years ago. I was teaching a master class on conversational hypnosis. And for some strange reason, like of the 25, 30 people in the class, 4 or 5 of them had tinnitus, like ringing in the ears, right? And I used this same protocol for them to walk them out of their tinnitus, right? It's really bizarre. Anyway, so let's talk about instant conversational pain relief. So let's talk about echo technique first, and then we'll talk about resistance removal. So here's why we want to talk about the echo technique, because it literally hacks a person's nerve. It's like the secret passcode to the human nervous system. The most powerful words that anyone can hear at any given moment are the words that just came out of their mouth, bar none, right? Now, you don't have to believe this. In fact, I challenge you to prove it wrong. I want you to go out in the world and start using this. I want you to start using people's words verbatim. The reason for this is that A, when a person speaks, the words that come out of their mouth are filtered, refined, vetted. There's so many filtering processes when you go from a thought or an imagination or a memory to the words that come out of your mouth that it's almost impossible to calculate the number of filters. This is an aspect of deep level NLP training. So when you go from primary experience, right, think of that like an 8K video. 8K video, right? But that video is too big to send through email, right? So what do? We take that video, we save it down to a smaller size, and then a smaller size, and then a smaller size, and then a smaller size, until it's finally small enough to send through an email server or a zip file or whatever. Now, we get that file, right? And we want to see it in the original 8K. So when we try to blow it up to 8K, the entire image disappears because every time we saved it down, more and more and more information was taken out. This is the normal process of a human encoding and decoding and recoding their communication when we go from a thought to words. But the words that come out of our mouth have passed every single neurological filter from our deepest level values, beliefs, and memories all the way up to our most superficial thoughts, ideas, and context. Okay, you guys with me so far? In other words, the words that come out of my mouth are a direct key to lock fit to that nervous system. When that person hears those words, the words that just came out of their mouth, coming back to them, it triggers a chain reaction of sameness inside of them. They start checking neurological boxes. Remember that checklist idea we started talking about? When a person's words come back to them, they start checking boxes. Check a certain number of boxes, the body generates a certain set of feelings. Those feelings are almost always positive. They're almost always desirable, and they always want more. Who are they looking at when those feelings come up? Well, I'm going to skip to the end. They're going to be looking at you. So the echo technique sends very, very powerful signals of sameness from you to the person that you're interacting with. When you do that, it will literally force them to pay attention to you, right? How many of you have ever been to a party? Type it in the chat if you've been to a party. Okay, good. Now, let me paint the picture for you. Okay, you're at a big, loud, noisy party, lots of people around. You're on one side of the room, you're having a conversation with somebody, and then from across the room, somebody with their back to you mentions your name. And from across the room, you hear it and go, "What?" Anybody ever have that happen? Okay. Why? How? How in this big noisy room, the person's back is to you, your back is to them, you're engaged in a conversation with a group of people, they're engaged in a completely separate conversation, there's people in between, there's music playing, whatever, and you hear your name. How does that work? It works because the part of you that's preconscious, that runs your heart, that keeps your lungs breathing, keeps your hormones flowing, that primal brain is constantly surveying the environment you're in, searching for anything relevant to itself. It's searching for danger, it's searching for safety, it's searching for friends, it's searching for enemies. So it's completely selfish and it's searching for anything that's important to it. So when your name is heard, even though consciously you're focused on something else, there's a ping in your nervous system and all of a sudden you orient on the source. When you give somebody their very own words back to them, it pings their nervous system like they're standing next to a huge bell. They can't not pay attention to you. And because they're getting the exact same words back that they gave you, it triggers all the neuroassociations, all the emotional and value-driven connections at every level of their neurology in a pleasurable way. It signals sameness to the person, and it validates their experience. It makes them feel heard, understood, accepted. How many of you have ever had somebody really listen to you? Like you got the impression from them that they not only heard you, but they saw you, right? They got you in all the ways that were important to you. How many of you have ever had that experience? Go ahead and type it in the chat. Let me ask you a question. Did it suck? Was it unpleasant? Gary says it feels really good, right? This is what happens when you use the echo technique, when you use a person's very own words with them. Neurologically, they can't not pay attention to you. Neurologically, it will trigger that same feeling of being heard, seen, validated, understood, and the level of rapport and connection that they will feel towards you goes up exponentially. The longer they talk, the more connected and attracted to you they become. Okay? This is no joke. This phenomena is an aspect of what we call the identification principle, but it's been validated by at least 3 different independent organizations. It's been validated by Stanford University, by Alexander Penland in his studies on honest signals. It's been validated by David Grove in his teachings on clean language. It's been validated by Chris Voss in his teachings on negotiation tactics called tactical empathy. Okay, when you use the echo technique, you're automatically in just about every single filter that NLP wants you to elicit and use individually. Right? Remember, I gave you that whole 7-stage universal persuasion protocol? You guys remember that? Know your outcome, control your state, get rapport, use your language, manage their state, jump into their process, bond to their criteria and values. You guys remember that? Yes or yes? When you use the echo technique, you're automatically activating 5 of them. 5 of the 7 stages are activated when you use this one technique. Can you see why I teach it first? Okay. Automatically generates rapport, automatically triggers their state through language, automatically causes them to pay attention to you, which allows you to manage their state. It automatically manages whatever strategies they're in, whatever behavior code that they have, perfect match. Automatically indirectly links to their values just by using their words. Now, are there layers to this and more advanced? Yes. But do you need that to get what you want? No. No, this is good enough for you to start. If you want the deeper trainings, grab that, click the link and grab the rest of the package. You'll get to the rest of the system. But the secret to this is when you start to talk with somebody, when you start to converse with somebody, the principle is very, very simple. Use as many of their words in your responses and in your questions as humanly possible. Michela says, even when they notice, they don't mind. 99% of the time, that's 100% true. And if you want to really make it bulletproof, that's even simpler. If you accept and embody the idea that the echo technique, the principle upon which it's founded, is actually based on the most preferable and desirable way for one human being to communicate and be communicated with by another human being. If you understand that we are neurologically, biologically, socially, evolutionarily programmed for this kind of communication, then the act of not using it actually makes you the bad guy. Okay? So I want you to understand this. So the secret to this is when you move through the world, if you move through the world embodying the understanding that the echo technique allows anyone you communicate with the gift of feeling seen and heard, accepted, validated, forces you to pay more attention to them than anybody ever has, okay, and primes them to keep talking. Okay. The very fact that you're taking the extra time to learn this and do this puts you in a very special place. It allows you to move through the world with the tools to understand people better, to communicate with them in the way that nature and God and all the forces in between design them to be communicated with. And if you're doing this with somebody and you're doing it because you want them to feel that way, because you want them to experience being understood and heard and validated, if they call you on it, all you have to do is look at them and say, I just want you to know that I want to understand you better. Is that okay? Now, if they say no, you have other problems, right? So the secret to this is take this idea of the echo technique and build your communication style around it. Now, I will tell you that when you do this, you're going to feel weird at first. And the reason you're going to feel weird is because to use the echo technique consciously means you have to deviate from your natural, normal, organically derived way of talking to people. It's because instead of using your words to make yourself understood, you're going to use their words and their understandings to be communicating more effectively and create that bond. Because you're doing something different than your normal native method of communication, you're going to feel weird. You're going to be a little bit more self-conscious. Kind of like wearing somebody else's shoes. Like they may fit, but they're not yours, right? Until you've worn those shoes long enough that they conform to your foot, and now they're your shoes. That's exactly what's going to happen with the echo technique. Now, that particular phenomenon, that particular aspect is called the spotlight effect. The spotlight effect is where we feel self-conscious because we're doing something that's not comfortable for us. And that's not really the problem. The problem is the other aspect of the spotlight effect is where we project that out, where we think that because we know we're doing something different, because we're doing something we're not 100% comfortable with, that everybody else that we interact with knows it too. And that is false. Okay. You can talk to the people in the chats. They'll tell you it's redonkulously hard to get caught with the echo technique. And even when you do it, even when it does happen, when you do it from the right place, it doesn't matter. Okay. And I've challenged people to go out and try to get caught with this. It really is a very powerful, simple thing to do. Right. Now, one of the things you can go check on me with is go back to all the early YouTube videos where I'm teaching the echo technique. Notice how many times I'm using the echo technique on somebody in the audience who raised their hand to challenge me on the echo technique. And how many times I'm echoing them, I'm echoing directly at them. The entire audience is laughing their butts off, and the person I'm talking to is completely oblivious. Right? You can see it live and in person. This is one of the reasons why I love doing live events, is because, you know, it's like one thing to make claims on a YouTube video or on a webinar, but to see it happen in real life right in front of you after it was just explained. We had Spycraft with Chase Hughes 3 years ago. I had one guy stand up, argued with me for like 10, 15 minutes about whether the echo technique would work. And I was echoing him the whole time. And he was completely oblivious. Maybe not quite 10 or 15 minutes, but he couldn't figure out why everybody was laughing. Right? And here's why. Because when the echo technique is deployed at you, you feel heard. You feel understood. Everything seems like it's the way it's supposed to be. But the people on either side of you, that's not their words. Therefore, it jumps out at them. But the person you're doing it with, oh, they're in their own little world. They're happy as a clam. Right? So the echo technique is one of the core skills that everything else hinges around. Whether you're using emotional bonding, whether you're using 3 magic questions, whether you're using resistance removal, which is where we're going to go next, right? The most powerful words any human being can hear are the ones that just came out of their mouth. Does that make sense? Okay, good. Okay, are you guys learning stuff? Is this useful? Is this helpful? Yes or yes? Okay, good. Okay. So next thing, resistance removal. Now, resistance removal, as I teach it, is based on the work of another researcher who I respect a lot. His name is Michael Pantalon. And the name of his book is called Instant Influence. Okay. Now, again, Dr. Pantalon created his protocols in the context of motivational interviewing and conflict resolution. I grabbed a hold of it and I started using it for anything modulated by the autonomic nervous system. So the inspiration is from Pantalon's work. What I'm sharing with you is my approach to it. So when we're doing resistance removal, the first thing that has to happen is we have to restore a person's sense of personal autonomy. So what is personal autonomy? I'm glad you asked. Hold that thought, because this is going to go quick. And I want to make sure that I have a chance to give you guys second to last call for the Secrets of Human Influence home study program. Remember, this goes away when I log off. So Secrets of Human Influence is the Human Influence home study course, $2,497 value. It comes with the Weapons of Mass Instruction, $1,997 value. We're going to give that to you free. The Renegade Reframe Instant Conversational Belief Change home study course, $1,997 value. We're going to give that to you free. Charisma and Conversion, $1,997 value. We're going to give that to you free. 3-month trial membership to the NLP Power Mastermind Mentoring Program and the 13-year video archive, $891 value. We're going to give that to you free. You're going to get the Stealth Instant Conversational Hypnosis Crash Course, $997 value. We're going to give that to you free. And then, of course, you're going to get that VIP super ticket to the 5-day Killer Influence Hypnosis Certification Home Study Course, January 23rd through the 27th, 2023. Again, please ignore these dates here. These are not the accurate dates. The actual dates are January 23rd through the 27th. The $3,150 value, we're going to give it to you free. First-time buyers only, $13,519 package. We're going to give it to you for one low installment of $997, or if you need help, you can break that up into 3 easy installments of just $397 each. Just click that link right now, www.killerinfluence.com/go. Click the link, click the link, click the link. And that's my second call to action for tonight's webinar. Grab it now before it's gone, because this will be one of the fewer times that we offer this. So that being said, let's get back to work. All right. So Personal autonomy. Autonomy is a person's sense of right to choose, of personal power, the ability to make a decision and have that decision enforced and expressed. But what happens with a lot of people is they feel attacked. They feel reactant. So how many people here have seen my resistance removal video where I talk about the 3 types of resistance plus reactance? No, okay, so let's talk about this really quick. So resistance in Planet David comes in 3 formulas, or 3+1 varieties. First is the biological reactance that or resistance. This is called reactance. I call it the fuck you factor. So if I walk up to somebody and I push them or I pull on them, that digging in effect where they root down and they resist being pushed or they resist being pulled, combined with the desire to push or pull back, that's called physical reactance. The same thing happens when somebody comes at us and forces their opinion on us or tries to give us instructions we don't ask for. It's called psychological reactance, okay? I call it the fuck you factor because every human being on the planet experiences it to some degree in various contexts. The problem that we have, and one of the paradoxes that we have, when we want somebody to generate their own reasons for doing what we want them to do, is if you've attacked them or you've tried to argue them or logic them into doing what you want them to do, the one thing you can count on is that any rationale, any belief, any rationalization, belief, or objection that gets challenged gets stronger. So let me explain that. If someone comes up to me and says, I think you should buy David's course because it will change your life. And first thing out of the person's mouth says, I can't afford it. And I start giving you all the reasons why you can't afford it. It doesn't matter how right I am, right? Because the moment I start attacking a person's reason for doing the thing I want them to do, or for not doing the thing I want them to do, that resistance actually gets stronger. I actually got physical confirmation of this in my Systema training in the martial arts, where in Systema, their art is around not giving any resistance at all to anything anybody does to you. Because when you resist them, you make them stronger. It's actually definitely, it's absolutely true in the physical body. It's 100% true in the mental body. So if you want somebody to dig their heels in and get even more reactant and more resistant, all you have to do is try to argue with them, try to attack them. The problem with it is that when people go into this reactant mode, it's a form of fight or flight. It's a form of fight or flight. And so what happens is their body feelings change, their perceptual filters change, and now anything you say to them gets filtered through the lens of they're trying to manipulate me. They're trying to make me do something I don't want to do. You following me so far? Because of the way we expressed ourselves and the level of the brain that we tried to influence those people, their body generated negative feelings, and those negative feelings caused a cascade of filters to shift. And so now anything we say is tainted because of their own body feelings and their own filters. So the very first thing that has to happen, if you want people to voluntarily do the things they just said they don't want to do, is you must restore their sense of personal choice. We call it autonomy. So let me give you a quick example of this. Somebody, you guys know, I saw clients for 16, 17 years. The number of years changes is with the webinars because I can't remember an exact number, but it's been since 2005. Right? I still see clients today, just not as many, and I charge a whole lot more, but I still see clients today. So for those of you who want to work with one of my associates or work with the therapist in Planet David, give him also a call and he'll show you the process for doing that with one of our people, or ultimately with me if you want to do that. Be that as it may, but one of the things that would happen is people would come in and they say, I need you to make me do X. I'd be like, that should be the first red flag, is you for you as a therapist. Anybody comes into you and says, I need you to make me do something, 99% chance they don't want to do it. They're there because somebody else wants them to do it. So the first thing I would say to them, let's use a smoke cessation or weight loss as an example. And they'll say, hey, Dr. David, I need you to make me quit smoking. And I'll be like, you need me to make you quit smoking? Yeah, I need you to just work your magic, do your mojo, and just make me stop smoking so I can get back to my life. Oh, okay. So let me ask you a question. Do you really want to quit smoking? Yes. Oh, so let me ask you a question. Does somebody else want you to quit smoking? Well, yeah, my wife's been on my case and my kids are saying I smell like an ashtray, and I'm just tired of hearing about it. So like, if you could just do whatever it is you do and make me stop smoking, that would probably be best. Okay. So just so I understand you better, your kids are saying you smell like an ashtray, your wife's been on your case, and you just wanted me to make you stop smoking. Yeah, doc, can you help me? No. What? I said, look, I'm gonna be honest with you, Mr. Jones or Joe, right? When you come in to this office, my job is to give you what you want, right? I am your guy. I am your advocate. I am your change professional, whatever word you want to assign it, friend, mentor, guide, whatever. Okay. So I'm going to be very, very honest with you. If you don't want to quit smoking, I support you 100%, balls to the wall. I will stand by your side. I will be your advocate to your family to help to protect your right to keep smoking. Right? If you want to enjoy smoking more, I'll help you do that. If you want to come in here, do a deep relaxation session, walk out, tell your wife it didn't work, and go about your life, I'll do that too. If you want to just go home and say it didn't work, right? Or whatever, I support you on that. Why is that? Because, Joe, it's like this. My job is to give you what you want, not what your wife wants, not what your kids want, or your boss wants, or your whatever significant other you may have, or whatever agencies involved. My job is to be your guy. So I'm going to give you what you want, and I'm going to support you in whatever direction that goes. And just so I understand you better, Joe, if you, Joe, not Joe's wife, not Joe's kids, were to, in fact, want to quit smoking for you, for your reasons, not your wife's reasons, not your kids' reasons, for Joe's reasons, if you were to want to do that, I'm wondering, I'm curious, why might you want to do that for you? Wow. Well, shit, I never really thought about it. But, well, I've noticed lately I've been getting kind of short of breath, and my kids are still young and they still want to play and stuff like that. And sometimes I get winded and I kind of hold back because I don't want to look like an old man. And maybe that's the cigarettes, and I could probably use the extra money from all the cigarettes I'm buying. So that might be a good read. Oh, okay. So let me, just so I understand you better. Your kids are young, but you notice that they still want to play with you, but you got this shortness of breath going on, and you think it might be the cigarettes, and you want to kind of do something. And you said you're spending a lot of money on cigarettes that you could use for other things. Is that, am I close with that? Yeah. It's I think it's a health thing. I think I'd be better off not smoking, so I have the energy, and I'm going to be around for a while, if you know what I mean. Okay. And of course, the money is, money ones wouldn't suck either. I said, okay, great. So just so I understand you better, if you could live longer, breathe better, and save some money, that might be worth quitting for. True, not true. Yeah, that's about right. So let me ask you this. On a scale of 1 to 10, how much might you want to quit for those reasons? How much might you want to do that? Well, I guess 4 or 5. 4 or 5, that's about right. Yeah. 4 or 5. Really? Why so much? How come you didn't rate that less? Why do you want that so much? What? I said, why do you want this so bad? Why didn't you rate it less? Well, I said, because I want to be healthy. I want to live longer. Not to mention the money, but that's no good having money if you ain't around to spend it, right? Okay. So I'm curious, what's the next step we need to take for you to live longer and spend that money? Well, I guess we need to get off the cigarettes. It's okay. What's the next step we need to take to do that? Well, I guess we do the session. Okay, let's go do that. Right? It's actually really easy. But the most important step is the first one. You got to convince them at their core that you support their right not to do the things they just said they don't want to do. Because if you don't satisfy that step, it doesn't matter what you say. They will spin it, they will massage it as a way of you is somehow trying to manipulate them. Okay. Well, again, you heard the echo, right? I tried to, again, that's what it looks like. That's what it sounds like. And there's people in here who see me do this out in the real world. They've seen me do this over the phone, right? I mean, this is how when in Identity by Design, I teach a 30-minute consultation process that has about a 90%, 9 out of 10 conversion rate. This is part of it, right? Thank you, Richard. Richard says that was brilliant, echoing at its best. Yeah, again, I've been doing this a while, but here's the thing, and I want you to really get this. You don't need to be as smooth as me for this to work. I just model that so your neurology has a template to grow into. But believe me when I say you could literally just follow the numbers on the cheat sheet and it'll work. As long as you can get them through the first phase, which is restore personal autonomy. Okay? You got to make them believe that you're on their side, that you support them no matter what. One of the hacks to this is the echo technique. Because the echo technique stimulates all of their filters, all the way down to the deepest emotions. And the person feels heard, they feel understood, they feel accepted, they feel validated. That's an automatic effect of just echoing alone. Now, when you go through the rest of the process, they just fall right into it. So Al says, no, but it is enjoyable to listen to you like the. Oh, you're talking. I was talking about language patterns. That's a different training. But if you want to learn that, we'll talk about that. So let's look at the template for the resistance removal technique and walk through it. Okay. Before I do, let me ask you a question. If you guys were to click that link right now for your own reasons, why might you want to do that? On a scale of 1 to 10, how much might you want to do that? How soon do you want to get started? Click the link. I know I don't play fair, but I'm doing this for your highest good because I love you. To become Superman. That's right, Jodin. Click that link and you become Superman or superhuman or whatever. Al says, I started 2 weeks ago and love it. Yeah. Here's the thing. You only get better. Jodian says, I already have. Well done. Okay. So once again, Secrets of Human Influence home study course, $2,497 value. Weapons of Mass Instruction, $1,997 value. We're going to give that to you free. Renegade Reframing, $1,997 value. We're going to give that to you free. Charisma and Conversion, $1,997 free. NLP Power Mastermind Mentoring, Stealth Instant Conversation This is Crash Course, 5-day VIP super ticket to the certification boot camp. $3,150 value. Total package, $13,519. Now, keep in mind, I'm teaching you bits and pieces of the entire system, and look at what you can do with it. Look at what's powerful with it. The whole system makes you godlike in terms of what you can do with it if you do the training. If you don't do the training, doesn't matter what you buy, right? So if you're not willing to do the training, don't buy the course, right? If you're not ready to change your life, don't buy the course, right? But if you're ready to stop being the same, start being the best version of yourself, to hear more yeses, click this link and join me in Planet David and start getting your superhero training off and running. All right, let's look at the resistance removal protocol, the template. And this is actually a really fun one, but the reason I demonstrate it first is because I want you to experience it. And I may actually do just kind of like we did the emotional bonding exercise, I may actually do a group drill with you just for fun, but here's a resistance removal formula. Okay, so can everybody see this okay? Okay, so the first thing you got to do, guys, is you got to restore their sense of freedom and personal choice, right? If you can't do that, you're dead in the water, right? Now, in Killer Influence and the advanced training, we'll show you an advanced version of this called the criteria lock, which is a combination of the resistance removal formula with the emotional bonding checklist. And it's just not fair, even though it's completely ethical and honest. So if you guys are interested in the most unbeatable version of this, I invite you to click that link and join us on the inside. In the meantime, though, oops, that didn't work out quite the way I was planning. All right. So the first thing is restore their sense of personal autonomy. You got to acknowledge their right to say no and support that right to say no. You got to reaffirm their right to say no. You notice that I spent the majority of the time when I was walking you through the demo of the resistance removal formula, you notice I spent the majority of the time on the autonomy part, right? Because that's going to take the longest, especially if people have been beating them up for weeks and months and years at a time, because they don't believe you. They really don't. So the more powerful your state control, the more powerful your rapport skills, the faster you get there. Okay. So the question becomes, after you've restored personal autonomy, if you were to want to do X, whatever that is, lose weight, stop smoking, go out on a date with me, buy my product, keep my product, whatever. Why, if you were to want to do X, why? This is one of the few times where we want to lead with a why question. Why might you want to do that? Why might you? Now, the secret, now, by the way, less you focus on the why, believe it or not, the most important word in this sentence is might. Okay? Now, I'll give you a little clue here. The word might belongs to a category of language patterns known as modal operators of possibility. You have different kinds of modal operators at work in the human nervous system. The word might gives you and installs flexibility where none existed before. It gives a person the ability to step into a reality or an experience that they would not give themselves permission to imagine without it. That's basically what you need to know. So when you use the word might, it actually puts people in a different headspace where they're willing to entertain the idea of something. Whereas if you try to go, why do you want to do that? They're going to say, I don't. But if you say, why might you want to do that? It implies the possibility that there is a reason why they would want to do that. And because there's a possibility, they now can fill it in with something. So why and might are the two most important words in that statement. If you were to want to do X, why might you want to do that? Why might you want to do that? Right? Then what you're going to do is what we call the master echo sequence. You're going to validate their experience. In other words, they're going to give you a statement, right? So what this sounds like is And I was talking to Joe. I said, Joe, if you were to want to quit smoking for your reasons, why might you want to do that? And Joe said, well, I've been getting short of breath lately, and I kind of like to live longer. I said, oh, I see. I get it. I'm totally with you. So you're short of breath and you want to live longer. So just so I understand you better, what's important to you about that? Or on a scale of 0 to 10, how much might you want to do that? So if you go back and again, review the video, because I'm going to go quick here. When Joe gave me his answer, I said, why might you want to do that, Joe? It's X and Y and Z. I said, oh, I'm totally with you on that. I get it. So you want to quit smoking because of X and Y and Z. And then we ask another question. Just so I understand you better, on a scale of 0 to 10, that's my next question. How much might you want to do that? Okay, so when we look at this segment, what you're seeing is what you'll hear when you come to Killer Influence. You'll learn something called the master echo sequence. This is a basic conversational framework that allows you to seamlessly flow with your echo techniques. It involves asking a question, paying attention to the response, validating the response that you get, echoing their words, and then asking a different or another question. All right. It's really, it makes it just stupidly simple to echo anyone, anytime, anywhere, and have a very, very powerful, deep, rapport building, connection driving conversation that the person doesn't want to give up. And you don't have to say hardly anything. Okay. So once again, if you were to want to do X, whatever X is, why might you want to do that? You validate what they said. You pay attention. You validate what they said. So you got to let them know that whatever they said is 100% right in your world too. You're completely on board with it. You agree with it, right? You'll learn nuances and variations on this aspect in the live training. But for right now, this is good enough. You echo the words that just came out of their mouth. You ask your next question. That question is almost always going to be in the resistance removal on a scale of 0 to 10. And actually, I would change that. I would make that from 1 to 10. On a scale of 1 to 10, how much might, there's that word again, might you want to do that? They're going to give you a number. Okay. They give you a 1. Does it matter? No. They give you a 10. Does it matter? No. Regardless of the number they give you, you're going to echo their words. You're going to validate their answers. You're going to ask your next question. You're going to soften. So I'm curious, why so much? Why didn't you rate it less? Why so much? Why didn't you rate it less? And many times when you deploy that question, you will see them do a double take. I kind of acted that out for you. I kind of acted out for you during my demo when I said, so Joe, just so I understand, why so much? Why do you want this so much? Why didn't you rate it less? And the guy was, what? Because they're so used to people attacking them for not doing something or not wanting something enough. That's what they tend to assume you're going to do next. And that's why you get the double take sometimes, because they think you're going to say, well, why don't you want that more? But what you say instead is, why do you want that so much? Why didn't you rate that less? Why didn't you rate it less? Why do you want it so bad? Right? And now what happens in that moment, their cognition flips. So rather than defending their reasons why they didn't rate it more, they have to defend their reasons why they didn't rate it less. And now in the act of defending that rationale for why they didn't rate it less, their desire to do it goes up. It's the same exact mechanism that you had to try to overcome using rhetoric that made it stronger. But now they're resisting you in the direction of change. Okay? Remember, the principle is very simple. The rationalization, the belief, the excuse that gets challenged directly only grows stronger. Okay. And if you've got a person in the grip of reactance, they're going to see the world through that filter. So you've got to interrupt that pattern. You've got to neutralize it. And more often than not, the most efficient and effective way to neutralize that pattern is to blend with it and lead from within. We challenge in the direction that we want. So when I'm getting people. So Richard says, I feel better about quitting something I've never started. Damn. Well, again, it does interrupt the pattern, but it also changes the direction of the pattern, right? A lot of times when we talk about hypnosis, especially classical hypnosis, you'll hear people talk about bypassing the critical faculty of the conscious mind and creating acceptable selective thinking. That's true enough to be true in classical hypnosis, but in covert hypnosis, a lot of times it's not necessarily that we're bypassing it, the critical faculty, so much as reorienting it. In other words, there's a little bit of a bypass because we have to reach in, change the direction it's pointing and move in that direction. But we're not necessarily always just sending it out for pizza. We're just redirecting its focus. Or we're changing its focus. So you can consider that as bypassing. I consider it more as a redirection of it. And in covert hypnosis, that's really a big piece that separates it from classical hypnosis, where we're literally sending the conscious mind out for pizza, right? Or bringing things in below the threshold of conscious awareness. Whereas with this particular process, we're changing the direction that filter is pointing, so it filters in the direction of the change we want them to make. I hope that I'm getting a little bit more techie than I normally would in a beginner level seminar, but that's kind of how I see it. Okay, there's a lot. This is a very deep field, and I love it. It's fascinating to me. But what's funny is the deeper I go into behavior and influence and all these things, the more I keep coming back to these super simple, profound, basic techniques, these foundational techniques, because I haven't found many things that can supersede them, and that's why I teach them to you. Now, I've created whole systems where everything is powerful. But if you needed to get something done today, this will do it. Okay, so restore personal autonomy. If you were to want to do this for your reasons, why might you want to do that? Echo or pay attention, echo, validate, echo, ask again. Scale of 0 to 10, how much might you want to do that? Why so much? Why didn't you rate it less? What's the next step we need to take to move forward? Right? That's the basic protocol. Well, so how do I remove the little voice that just said, well, how am I going to remember this and implement it? Well, here's the beautiful thing, Jody. And you're coming to the training. So you're going to overlearn this. You're going to know how to do this in your sleep because you're going to get a redonkulous amount of repetitions doing this on people and having it done on you. So that's inevitable. But you also get this video. This video is going to have a replay. And you can watch it as many times as you want. Right? But also, we have this thing called screen share. So go ahead and take a screenshot. Right? These are just my notes. Remember something. Techniques are important, but at the end of the day, it's more about the person using the technique than it is about the technique. And so part of my job, as I teach you to become more aware of yourself and aware of the world around you, is to help you become the person who can do all of these techniques naturally, as a natural byproduct of your training, and be growing into the person you truly want to be and becoming the best versions of yourself. Right? But again, for those of you who've clicked the link, you're going to have 3 months of one-on-one training with me in the mastermind group. You can practice these techniques backwards and forwards. You're going to make friends at the training, both virtually and in person, that you can train with and practice with. So there's a lot of different ways that you can go back over this material. And I highly recommend you take advantage of all of them. The fastest, most powerful way to embody all of this is to click that link in your chats right now, grab your package, come to the events, and do the drills and embody and personify the skills. It's that simple. Just click the links and go from there. Okay. Perfect. All right. Mia was kind enough to place those in the chat. And you guys have fun? You guys learn some stuff? All right. Let me do this one last time. This is our final call. After this, the fast action bonuses, that VIP ticket goes away. So please, please, please click your link right now. Remember, you're going to get the Secrets of Human Influence Killer Influence Home Study Course, the world's #1 NLP training program in the world, $2,497 value. You're going to get Weapons of Mass Instruction, the ultimate training in storytelling and neurologically based narrative persuasion techniques. It's stupidly powerful. But you need to have the Secrets of Human Influence or Killer Influence curriculum under your belt to make the most of it. $1,997 value. We're going to give that to you free. You're going to get CPI 3, the Renegade Reframing Home Study Course, how to overcome any objection or change any belief in seconds. $1,997 value. We're going to give that to you free. You're going to get the Charisma and Conversion Home Study Course for those of you who make your living through presentation, Zoom, social media, meetups, boardrooms, seminars, workshops, whatever. This is the most powerful way to help people learn faster and deeper and inspire them and motivate them to take their relationship with you to the next level. It has completely transformed my life and my business. I give it to you with an open heart so that you can leverage your life too. Right? $1,997 value. I'm using this to level the playing field so you're not always the one rushing to the back of the room to buy the things. And I hope you use it ethically, but it will also protect you against people who are using it less than ethically. You're going to get 3 months of training in the NLP Power Mastermind Mentoring Program. It's an $891 value. We're going to give that to you free. You're going to get the Stealth Instant Conversation Hypnosis Crash Course, $997 value, absolutely free. And then finally, you get your VIP Anything Goes super ticket for the next 5-day Killer Influence Certification Covert Hypnosis Home Study Course, or not Home Study Course, live event here in San Diego, January 23rd through the 27th, 2024. It's a $3,150 value. Total package is $13,519. You can grab it all for one low installment of $997, or you can break it up into 3 easy installments of $397 each. Just click that link right now before I log off. www.killerinfluence.com/go. Click the link, click the link, click the link. Last chance, because in the words of the immortal Carol Burnett, I'm so glad we had this time together just to have a laugh or sing a song. Seems we just got started, and before you know it, comes the time we have to say so long. Click the link, guys. I'll see you on the other side. I can't wait to see the things that you accomplish with this course under your belt and everything that's heading your way. I love you. Good night. God bless.